Big news. I have some important news for you.
Interesting news.
It's Blake and Aaron's Spilling the Tea with Sandy.
Cayman's top news headlines of the day from CMR.
Good morning, Sandy. How are you?
Good morning, Blake and Aaron. How are you guys doing?
We are good.
Great.
We are good.
How's it going?
Awesome. Very awesome.
What do you have for us this morning?
All right, so some pretty big headlines actually this morning.
All right.
A Royal Navy ship has seized some 24 million pounds of cocaine in the Caribbean.
What?
Wow.
24 million pounds?
Yeah, that's a lot.
You mean money or actual weight?
Pounds as in dollars?
Got it.
Street value.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty big deal.
And where? Off a boat? or what?
Wasn't it the Dominican
The
Republic area?
location is, hold on, let me just get you the exact quadrants here.
Yeah.
It's a lot of drugs.
Hmm.
They didn't actually say exactly where.
I want to know how they know. Like,
They just said in the Caribbean.
Oh, they know.
I know they know something.
Well, they know what you do.
It's more than 400 kilograms of
Yeah.
cocaine.
I
Near the DR.
I
My
have
apologies.
pot plants, and I mean plants in pots. When I
It's
say
near
that.
it's near the DR. So
Yes, it was yeah.
And it's like, I have no idea.
400 kg of cocaine. The crew of the HMS Medway, working in conjunction with the U.S. Coast Guard Law Enforcement Detachment, detained 3 crew members when they boarded the vessel. And Governor Martin Roper has lauded the efforts of the Royal Navy in this major drug bust. And he basically said this is a fantastic job, and it's great to see the excellent work of a Royal Navy stopping illicit drugs reaching the hands of dealers and users. And we all know the devastating effect of such substances can have in the lives of individuals and families.
Yeah.
So
I think that ship was the same ship that was here. I remember that name, Medway.
Yes, it is. The one that gave us support after Hurricane Ivan.
That's right.
Wow.
So those guys are busy.
Apparently so.
Yeah, good job, guys.
So that's amazing. But that's 24 million pounds of drugs that is not going to reach, islands like ourselves, like the DR, like Haiti, like Jamaica, TCI. So good job. And in other drug-related news, 2 Northside men have been arrested for what the police say is a suspicion of possession of cocaine with the intent to supply. And they said that they recovered a significant amount, they didn't specify, of drugs on Monday.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Man, what
So
are they?
conducted a search at a location in Frank Sound in Northside. And during the search, they recovered a plastic bag containing a significant supply of suspected cocaine along with drug paraphernalia. Both men have been arrested, and the matter is under investigation.
Wow.
What do you do with all that? Like
Are
on the
you
ship?
asking because you found something?
Like on the ship, like 24 million pounds of cocaine. What are they
Well,
gonna do with all that?
I guess
Transport
after
it?
it's tested, it should be
Have a big party on the on the ship.
I'm pretty sure it goes into
it
compensation.
should be destroyed. The authorities should be destroying it. Yeah.
I kid.
Do they still burn it? Is there? I think normally they put it in a controlled, like incineration box or something and dispose
They
of it.
just dump it in the water.
I have no idea.
That'd be bad.
No,
Maybe bad, yeah.
you can't just randomly dump cocaine in water.
Yeah. It's caused more problems than
Somehow, I know, right?
with our fish.
Somehow,
Not only
I
are
don't
they
think the fish would
radioactive, they're
appreciate
also high on coke.
Yeah, the fish would not appreciate that at all.
Yeah.
All right, so big shout out to Caymanian Captain Atlee Evans, Arthlee Evans, what they call him, Atlee Evans. He's received the prestigious Tommy Gifford Award for Caribbean Offshore Pioneer from the International Game Fishing Association. It's pretty cool.
Okay.
Cool.
Yep, this was done at the annual gala at the 63rd Fort Lauderdale International Boat Show, which took place over the weekend from the 26th to the 30th. And the Ministry and Department of Tourism offered their congratulations to Captain Evans.
Yeah.
Well done.
Very cool.
He looks like he's a bit up in age, so good for him to get appreciated while he's still alive and kicking and doing well. So that's super exciting for him. A BVI politician has been charged for breach of public trust. his name, former education minister in the British Virgin Islands, was arrested and charged with breach of public trust by a public officer in relation to the building of a perimeter wall at a high school that had major cost overruns. Myron Walwyn was arrested and charged on Tuesday, November the 1st. So this is interesting, but, he supposedly built this wall, which caused quite a bit of controversy and led to the authorities there launching a formal investigation, which ended in 2020. And the police said the findings of their investigation were sent to the DPP's office in their country, and they decided to pursue charges.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I've got a breach of trust story that I'm going to tell people about this morning. If you're interested, tune in to the Cold Hard Truth. The case just finished late yesterday, and it's very, very interesting, I must tell you.
What's the Wutless Thief? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. Yeah. So, oh my gosh, this is kind of a sad story in a way, but this man yesterday afternoon walks by a house on Hospital Road and decides to steal this plant. I think it was a desert rose.
Yeah.
But the contents of it contain the ashes of a deceased friend.
Yeah.
And so the homeowner is upset, not just about the plant, because it takes a certain amount of nerve to go into somebody's yard in broad daylight and steal a plant, but also because his friend's ashes were actually in the plant.
Well, if you want to propagate your own, go ask first, knock on the door and say, hey, listen, I really think your desert rose is really nice.
But
Would you mind?
this was a fenced yard.
No, they just walked in and saw it. Yeah, no, it's absolutely ridiculous. I saw the original post. I know exactly what we're talking about.
This is actually a friend of mine's yard.
Yeah, I was shocked about it.
And he actually has really good pictures.
No, we're going to show them because somebody knows this guy.
Oh, no, it's really clear.
This will be an easy case to solve.
I mean, I just don't get why you think you can go. It's just like there's a law against taking fruit off other people's trees, stuff like that. It's the same concept.
Yeah. Yeah, and you can buy a desert rose plant.
Yeah, you can. Or if you want to propagate one, knock on the door first.
Yeah,
Right.
We're going to talk about all that this morning. Anyway, those are some of your news headlines this beautiful Wednesday morning.
Well, that was my comment originally on my friend's post. I was like, send it to Sandy. And he did. So
yeah,
there you go.
He's funny.
Yeah. All right, that's your show right now on Bobo 89.1 FM, and we'll see you tomorrow for Thursday headlines. All right.
Sounds beautiful.
Have a good one.
All right, folks. Good morning. How are you guys doing? Let's get this show on the road, shall we? Buenos dias.
Peppermint, sorrel, ginger, fever grass, or English. Get it ready. Your morning tea just got hotter.
Ooh, honey child.
On the Cold Hard Truth. Bobo 89.1 and Cayman's #1 talk show are bringing you morning talk like no one else. Monday Rewind, Impact Wednesdays, Caribbean Connections, and much more. Don't miss a beat with what's happening in the local community. Just keep sipping your tea.
What a mess.
Here's your host, live and direct from the Cayman Islands, Sandy Hill.
All right, folks. Good morning. What a beautiful day. Rise and shine, everybody. We got a lot to talk about. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. Wutless thieves and all. How is everyone doing this beautiful Wednesday morning? Hump Day Wednesday, as they say. So, if you don't know what a wutless person is, it is very much a Caymanian term. I'm going to educate some of y'all this morning. And it quite frankly goes along with, the proper term is worthless, if we wanted to pronounce it properly. But Caymanians have a few of our unique sayings that we have adopted. And this is definitely one of them. We're not even going to give you the courtesy of using the full title on you. We're going to just call you wutless. You're wutless, man. So someone decided, and I don't know whose brilliant idea, I don't know who this man is, but somehow he thought that it was a good idea to go and steal from someone's yard. Now, we have talked about this before, haven't we? Yes, we have. Yes, honey child, we have. Remember the guy, he was caught on video, the little Indian fellow there, going into someone's yard for, what, was it a breadfruit? I can't even remember what it was now. Might have been a breadfruit. And, you know, some people are like, oh, what's the big deal? Get over it, you know. It's just a fruit. Well, the thing about it is it's still stealing, no matter how you cut it. Might be just a fruit to you, but I can assure you that for people who, you know, have their own private property, for you to just walk into someone's private property and help yourself to anything on their property is quite, you have as them young people would say, you have more nerve than a toothache. Just absolutely rude. Oh yes, that's right. Somebody said no, it was a papaya. Yes, I think you might be right. I can't even remember what it was, honey chill. Some kind of fruit. And so, you know, the lesson once again is when you see something, as Aunt Lottie say, don't touch. It's not yours. It don't belong to you. Get your hands off of it. Good morning to the beautiful Miss Hope. But people seem to have an issue with touching things that don't belong to them. You touch people, fruit trees, you touch their plants. Some of y'all touching men that don't belong to you. And it's just like, leave the people them things alone. What a mess. Miss Vernita, good morning. Olivia's here. Miss Sonia, so good to see you. Sujit says good morning. If the seizure is for 400 kilograms, and how much of it is floating around? It's a lot. Let's talk about that in a second. Sujit, good morning to you. So good to see you here. Wee Wee's got it locked. Miss Mitzi joining us from Northside as well. Melita, how are you? Melicia, good morning, my love. We have Natasha. Lennon Christian's in the house. He says Captain Evans is a scuba pioneer. It's men like this who built the tourism industry. Can I speak to Captain Evans, please? Today we're going to be playing another of our Cayman Voices series. Do not miss it. This one is so much fun. Two sisters, 85 and 90 years old. Oh my gosh. I'm having such a fantastic time doing these interviews. I must tell you that I really enjoy sitting down and hearing their stories. I learn something new from every single person. There might be some common threads like throughout the stories because, you know, if they're all like in their 80s or 90s, Cayman was in many ways very, very similar for people. But in their own unique way, they tell their personal family stories and their own individual stories about growing up in the Cayman Islands. So I need the telephone number, please, for Captain Evans. Somebody. Quick. Send me that number, honey child. Let me get to him. And we have a list. I'm slowly working through my list. Anybody else that you think I should be interviewing, reach out to me. Try to have a contact number, though, because, you know, if I don't know who the person is personally, you know, some of the older citizens of the Cayman Islands need assistance with family members to get the interview set up. So do send us their contact details. Today is Wednesday, Waffle Monkey Wednesdays. I got my Waffle Monkey cup. Shout out to Scott. Is Scott in the house this morning? Some nice, delicious, refreshing tea. What flavor is this one? I had some nice mint tea yesterday during lunch at Thai Orchid, and it was delicious tea. All right. Thank you, Senior Lennon, for joining us this morning. Benji's here. Good morning, Benji. Diamond Princess says happy Wednesday to everyone. Miss Beulah is also here. Dion has it locked early. Melita, something is making her chuckle this early morning. Marva says Jamaica's in the house. Good morning, Sandy and friends. Good morning, Marva. How are you? What part of Jamaica are you from? Diamond Princess, thank you. Papaya. Papa. Celia, good morning. She's watching from Rotan Island. I tell you, we just got a whole international click here in the mornings that I totally love. Sonia says the nerve of that thief. Thief. I came out there to say it, not thief. Thief. We leave off the H. That's the dirt that's going around here lately. People just think that they got the right to walk into your property, steal, pick anything up that they want, shaking my head. And when people react, the thief lovers beat you down, making you feel like you're the thief. My God, man. So rude. What? Yes. They want you to feel like you're the one who's doing something wrong. To talk about a little bit of accountability. Wow. Well, hold on. We got his picture. Don't worry. These are actually pretty good pictures, I must say. So somebody know who this thief is. Give him up. I mean, the nerve of taking somebody's plant. And the worst thing is, as we mentioned, sadly, it is actually somebody's ashes. I bet you he never knew that. The dupper should follow him around. That's what Cayman should believe. The dupper coming for him. There he is. Medium build. He looks like he had a backpack ready to steal, honey child. Walk around with a backpack. He had no good intentions from the word jump. You know, I guess people might be plant lovers. And they might want to propagate a plant. So if that is the case, folks, by all means, ensure that you simply go knock on somebody's door and you say, oh, I love your plant. Do you mind if I take a piece of it? Then you might get a full explanation to say, actually, I do mind, because the dirt in that is not just regular dirt. That's my friend's ashes. And so it's not a good idea for you to pick up somebody's ashes. I tell you. So the individual who sent us the footage, understandably, was really upset. And this is what he said. First of all, it was really kind of funny, I must tell you. I had to laugh at his words that he used. But when we're upset, we just say exactly how we feel. Not politically correct. He says, Dear Sandra, this is at 12:18. A few minutes ago, this common thief crossed. First of all, he had it titled Wutless Thief. Yes, Wutless. He said, Dear Sandra, a few minutes ago, this common thief crossed a fence, waltzed into my parents' front yard and Hospital Road, and removed flowers and part of a desert road plant containing the ashes of my late friend, so-and-so. I want the pieces back immediately. And I also want him to end up as somebody's, let's just say, special friend. That's not the word he used, but we'll use that on air since we might have children listening to the program. At Northwood, could you please post the image? I want the wutless piece of you-know-what found. Wutless thief helped himself. Yeah, so I'm showing you guys a picture of him I think there's a video and stuff as well, but that's him, bald-headed. Shouldn't be hard to identify. This is a pretty good picture, honey chill. Wearing jeans and a blue shirt, and he has a backpack that is looks like orange and black. Invest in good cameras, folks. Invest in good cameras. Gentlemen, whoever you are, what you needed to do was simply just go and turn back, return it, and say, I'm sorry, I didn't mean any harm. And here's the pieces of flowers back. Well, good morning to Gary. Gary says, Atlee and Peter Pat Pioneers. Send me their contact details or family members. Richard, good morning to you. Miss Bonnie is here joining us from beautiful East End. Miss Sonia joining us from Rotan. She says hello from Cayman. Oh, from Cayman to Rotan. My apologies. All right. Facebook user. Why does your thing say Facebook user? Why don't we see a name? It says sort it out. Michelle says, good morning to everyone watching from New York City. Thanks for these programs. This is how I know what's happening in my country. Oh, hi, Michelle. How are you? New York. Yes. Nice. So Facebook user says, set up Wednesday. Scott House morning. Nice flavor, mints. All right, or intrusive. Facebook user, your comments are confusing, to say the least. And quite frankly, looks like we're going to have to block you. What on earth? Facebook user, you've been on something kind of strange this morning? Facebook user, this is kind of interesting, actually. All right, we'll get you sorted out. Just give me a minute. Give me a minute to see what's going on. Good morning. Oh, Dr. Tahir is in the house. He says, have a wonderful day. Facebook user, just give me 1 second. I'm coming for you. Omeria says, good morning, Sandra in the Cayman Islands. These people are too out of order and they have no respect. You know, quite frankly, that is exactly what it's about. So James Willingale shows up on Facebook with a name, but on my thing it says Facebook user. I got to investigate why that's happening. James, you're annoying people with your ultra weird pictures. It says here that you've got badges. You have a badge on Facebook called Earned One Badge, a top fan badge. Have you been spamming us and we didn't even notice? Well, we're going to demote you to being blocked now, Sir James. We don't know who you are. It says you're claims you're a digital creator with 2.9 thousand followers from New South Wales. Seems like you got too much time on your hands to be spamming people this morning. So we're going to go ahead and do you the favor of blocking you. Yes. Goodbye. Block James. We're going to ban James and any new profiles they may create. Yes. Goodbye. There we go. Done and dusted. We don't want weirdos on the show. Take your weirdness somewhere else. Yep. We got important things to talk about here. If you're not part of the conversation in a meaningful way, you either don't comment at all, just sit back and listen, or just don't be on here. All right, he's blocked, he's gone. Goodbye. Mr. Richard says him and Celine are watching. Darlene joining us from the UK. She says, good morning, world. CMR is global. Thank you so much, Miss Darlene. So good to see you this morning joining us from the UK. All right, big shout out to Verlene. Verlene is headed back to she's actually going to the US, but she's joining us from the UK. We got some new fans in the house, Atlanta and other places. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. So I spent a good lunch hour with Verlene yesterday. We had such a lovely time. So if you know who this man is, just pinch us with the name and we'll get it sorted out. Sometimes we don't think before we steal, I feel like. Do people not think before they steal? That's when you have a very low moral compass, because it does take some nerve. I mean, I know this yard and you have to like go down a side road, go up the people them yard. I mean, you have to really be motivated to steal from this yard. It's not like it's on the mean road and you just, see it hanging off the fence and just take a little snippet. No. You went out of your way, honey chow. Aliano says, James trolling, you just got 66, yo. Yeah, you got the axe. So we have another episode coming up a bit later on in the show, the last hour of the program of Cayman Voices. This is so exciting. I really had a good time with these two sisters. Please stay tuned for that. So this is a big drug bust in the Cayman Islands. 24 million pounds, as in dollars. What's the U.S. equivalent to that? I think, aren't they almost 1 and 1 at the moment? So Suji says, good morning, everyone. If the seizure is 400 kilograms, that's how much of it is floating around. Listen, there are a lot of drugs out there, just based on the reports of what they are catching. And I suspect that they're probably, I don't know what percentage of drug traffickers get caught, but obviously they're in it because they've had some degree of success, right? And, based on even the persons that we see here in the Cayman Islands who are addicted to drugs, they're still getting access. Yeah. And it seems like it's relatively easy access. Quite frankly, if we see, common individuals being able to turn drug dealers, these little boys in Cayman Brac, it can't be like you need to be a big player to get your hands on it. Where are the drugs coming from? Well, on this island, I believe that a good portion of the drugs actually come in by way of Jamaica. And they come in on these canoe boats. Doesn't mean that they don't come from anywhere else, because obviously we have seen, for example, the fact that sometimes they're bringing it from Honduras. We have drug mules that they need to be very, very cognizant of. You know what is so interesting? After 9/11, they put in all these fancy scanners at the airport. And these scanners have the ability to scan you for, I guess they're looking for bombs or whatever. Are they also simultaneously scanning you for drugs? Can they see, like, inside if you've swallowed something? I mean, I've never thought much about what those scanners actually are able to see. I guess they just scan and see underneath the clothing, right? They don't actually see beyond that. But wouldn't that be interesting if they could? If they could actually see if you swallowed some pellets and you got them in your belly. But I do know that we have both young ladies and young men who are forced sometimes, because of the environments that they're in, to become drug mules, my apologies, for, drug traffickers. And don't be fooled. Don't think that a drug mule looks like somebody who's not desirable. A lot of times they use the prettiest girls. They use the Miss Hondurases, Miss Colombias, Miss Mexicos of the world, because they are easy targets for that particular type of lifestyle. A lot of those girls come from very poor upbringings, and they want to be what they think is successful. They want access to money. So once they get the title, they get the fame that comes with that, but that doesn't necessarily in their country come with money. Because they're attractive, the drug gangs are oftentimes very attracted to them. And they become wives of some of these gangsters or girlfriends or whatever. And then they participate in the money laundering. They participate in the transportation of the drugs. The cartels are big in using beauty queens to smuggle drugs all over the world. Mm-hmm. There's a whole list here of beauty queens who were caught smuggling drugs. Former Miss Kentucky USA smuggling marijuana into a correctional facility for an inmate. 2.82 grams of marijuana. 3 years probation because it was considered a third-degree felony. You can imagine. Why on earth? An inmate? Speaking of inmates, recently I heard that the police haven't said anything about this. The authorities haven't said anything, but my sources told me just a couple days ago that a young lady was caught here in Cayman doing the exact same thing. Smuggling drugs into a prisoner here in Cayman as well. Let me try to see if I can remember who that was. It was literally just the other day. Anyway, that's northward. They should lock you up really quickly when you do that sort of foolishness. So I'll try to see if I can find the information. Anyway, yes, I heard that story just a couple days ago. I thought to myself, well, she's less than bright. Smuggling drugs for an inmate. Ay. Here's another beauty queen, Juliana Lopez, 23-year-old Colombian beauty. She won the Miss Antioquia beauty pageant. Never heard of them. And was going to participate in the Miss World Medellin competition when she was arrested for smuggling drugs into China. Ooh, that's the wrong place to smuggle drugs. Jeez, peace. China? She's not smart at all. I would have probably picked anywhere else, but like China and Russia and Asia. Don't do it, honey child, because you're going to jail. Like, for real. She had 610 grams of the white powder. Tested was 49% cocaine. What was the rest of it, I wonder? Only 49%? What else were they cutting it with? Anyway, according to Chinese law, those found trafficking drugs into the country will be sentenced to 15 years of imprisonment, life in prison, or the death penalty. Wow. The death penalty. Imagine. So she lucked out of the three options and she was sentenced to the 15 years in prison and was also ordered to pay a fine of over 2,284 pounds. Former Miss Jamaica World 2008 runner-up Marsha Gay Reynolds was arrested after she ran from a security checkpoint at Los Angeles International Airport, leaving 70 pounds of cocaine behind. That's a lot of cocaine. I mean, did she put that all in one suitcase, you think? I'm thinking when I go shopping, Even 50 pounds is a lot to lug around. You suspect she had the porter trying to help her carry these bags? 70 pounds of cocaine. The police found 11 packages of cocaine wrapped in green cellophane. Approximate street value of $750,000. Who did she meet that could try to get her to move that much cocaine at one time? Those people are stupid. I mean, it's stupid to deal in drugs any way you cut it, pun intended. But you think you can walk through a major airport in this day and age in the United States of America with 70 pounds of drugs? You better had run, child. You better had get some speed shoes from Usain Bolt, because the running that you needed to do. So she was looking at a 10-year sentence, but she got off on a lighter sentence because she apparently helped the U.S. law enforcement in a drug trafficking case that involved another Jamaican. I don't think is she back in Jamaica? When did this happen? Hold on, let me try and get some details. Because child, depending on who she messing with in Jamaica, she mightn't giving them up. Oh, this is recent. So July the 7th of 2022. How did we miss this story, Renee? We never had this story up. I need to send Renee this link. Jamaican man who supplied the flight attendant with 60 pounds of cocaine to smuggle it at LAX, sentenced to nearly 14 years in prison. Gaston Brown of Clarendon, Jamaica. Federal judge indicted him in January 2017, and he was finally sentenced just this year. Whew, Renee, we need to keep up with regional stories now, honey Jam. What a mess. So interesting. So how much time did she get? She got, let me see. So she pled guilty, and she was looking at a mandatory 10-year prison sentence for conspiracy to possess and distribute cocaine. She was arrested in March of 2016. So she's a former JetBlue flight attendant as well. She abandoned a suitcase. So that was one suitcase loaded with 60 pounds of cocaine. Wow. My goodness. What a thing. Such a shame, shame, shame. Wow. So she didn't serve much time at all. She got released, it looks like, in 2018. She just served a couple years. Listen to this one. The Transportation Security Administration says that Reynolds was selected for a random security check at LAX. Moments later, authorities said Reynolds dropped her carry-on luggage, kicked off her heels, fled down an upward moving escalator and out of the terminal. She surrendered in New York days later. I wonder where she thought she was going. Oh, Lord Jesus. Take the wheel, honey child. Take the plane. Take the plane. I tell you. Where was she going? Kick off the heels and took off running. Yep. Didn't get far. All right, let's continue the list. This is very, very interesting. Yeah. We have Angie San Clemente Valencia, who was crowned Coffee Queen in 2000, was later dethroned when she gave false information about her marital status. Everybody can dethrone people for lying except Cayman. Shame, shame, shame on us. Anyway, you guys got to look at her picture. I'm going to show you her picture here because let's just say that her beauty pageant picture here is interesting. Here we go. Yes, look at this one. She was trying to sell certain assets, honey chow, and it wasn't just a pretty face. So this beauty queen, 31-year-old, was found guilty of convincing young women to smuggle cocaine from Argentina to Europe via Mexico. Wow. The police had been looking for her since 5 months. When they finally found her, so I see we got a few spammers in the chat this morning. We're going to go ahead and delete them. Let's see who else we got coming up here. Beauty queens, we have Miss Laura Zuniga. Just 2 months after being crowned as Miss Hispanic America, Laura Zuniga and her drug dealer boyfriend and 6 others were arrested for racketeering, drug trafficking, weapons violations, and money laundering after police caught the group carrying several 9mm pistols. Here, this group. A couple of semi-automatic rifles, and $53,000 in cash. To top it off, she was a former preschool teacher and had just won the national title of Miss Sinaloa. That's in Mexico. She was stripped of her title as Miss Hispanic America. Good for them. Even the Mexicans got standards, honey chill. So glad to hear that somebody around here does. How about Maria Sofia Gloria Mustonen, Miss Philippines 2013? Maria made it to the front page when she was arrested along with another suspect in a drug raid. The arrest took place after court issued a search warrant against the two, and they found 200 grams of what is shabu? Shabu, cocaine, and ecstasy pills, drug paraphernalia, and 2 firearms were seized from the duo during the raid. Oh my gosh. I don't know what shabu is, but anyway, my goodness, she was carrying a lot, and that's a lot. Multiple drugs and firearms. What? Huh. Interesting. I wonder how many years she got. Yeah, they probably don't. They probably wouldn't have played around with her. I don't know. You think her president there, what's his name, the crazy Filipino guy? You think he executed her? I'll see if I can find out whatever became of her. Yeah, it's interesting. Wow. No, sir. Pretty looking girl. She has a very different look, but interesting. All right. Next up, we have Anastasia Kravtsova. What? Kravtsova. Sounds Russian. Where is she from? Yes, Russian. Russian beauty queen. She won many local beauty pageants, including the Miss University 2014, Miss Bikini 2014, and was arrested for drug dealing. The Russian beauty was persuaded to hand out packages to the clients by her drug dealer boyfriend, who was away in business. She was arrested as soon as she handed over the package containing 0.5 grams of what is this? Amphetamine to an undercover cop. What kind of drugs are these people into? The police later arrested her boyfriend and put him in a high security prison for 10 years. She was sentenced to 4 years in jail after she made a partial admission of guilt. 4 years for 0.5 grams. Yeah. Wow. Well, beauty queens, honey child. Did y'all see last week where there was a controversy again in the world of beauty queens and pageants? And they're always, they had stripped one lady or something, or they shut down, I think, the entire committee because of allegations of cheating. All of us going over here and going, if they could only come to the Cayman Islands, Miss Universe, step in and do something. Because I don't know. So October the 28th, there's a probe into claims that Miss USA pageant, was rigged. So Miss Universe has suspended Miss USA President Crystal Stewart and her company, and who are now under investigation, following the 2022 contestants speaking out about the pageant being rigged weeks before the October the 3rd contest. The Miss Universe organization, my apologies, has decided to suspend Miss Brand immediately. They said that they'll be taking over the Miss Universe or the Miss USA program while a comprehensive third-party investigation is conducted. Wow. I wonder if they haven't heard what's happening in Cayman. They need to take that over too. So apparently Miss USA 2022 was crowned Miss Texas. Her name is R. Bonnie Gabrielle. It's the first Filipino-American winner. And the contestants have said that there's some sort of a relationship between Stewart and her company and Miss Brand Corp and Gabrielle. And there's a quote here that says a lot of the girls felt that it was the organization's plan from the beginning for her to win no matter who else was competing. We all had an idea of what was really going on behind the scenes, and we felt disrespected and paraded around for a show, says Miss Missouri. They're claiming that it's been talked that it was rigged for weeks leading up to the pageant. Wow. I tell you, quite a mess. Shabu, thank you, Dion, giving us a definition. Oh, it's methamphetamine, hydrochloric acid, I think. It's usually called the poor man's cocaine. Oh, so they're cutting it with all sorts of other stuff that'll likely kill you, for sure. Sujit says beauty contests somehow are closely associated with illegal cash, drugs, guns, and flesh trade. It is sad, but beauty queens and beauty pageants don't always have the best reputation. That's why I would think Cayman would go out of its way, in particular, to really keep our heads above board and run a pageant that is free from controversy. But child, as one committee member told me, basically controversy sells. Marshall says she took off those heels and ran for the hills or stairs, as the case may be. He also says that flight attendants are easy targets for smuggling drugs. Yeah, they think it's easy, but Sydney, good morning. He says she was doing the trafficking within America New York to California. Mm-mm. Oh, Durante is no longer the president? Does the Philippines have a new president? I don't even know. Thank you, Tin, confirming what shabu is. Also called crystal meth. Oh, okay. No, that's pretty crystal meth. That's pretty deadly stuff too. Yeah. All right. Well, there you have it. Little rundown on some pageant young ladies who are always getting themselves into little pickle. So 2 Northsiders have also found themselves arrested for drugs, according to the police. Arrested for cocaine. Cocaine. My goodness. What are y'all thinking? They found a plastic bag containing what they say is a significant quantity of suspected cocaine along with drug paraphernalia. So they have been arrested on suspicion of possession of cocaine with intent to supply. So remember that when someone is first arrested, it is on suspicion of something until they are actually charged. And then once they are charged, that's when they take them to court. They give them the court documents. They respond to the charges. Not normally at the first hearing because they'll get the documents and they'll have an opportunity to consider if they're going to fight the charges or what they're going to do. So, yes. Y'all can't hear? The most interesting thing about Cayman, though, I must tell you, that in the Caymans, it is oftentimes the fact that everybody in the community knows exactly who the drug peddlers are. Interesting. Yeah. Only the police have to do investigations to figure out who they are. Everybody else seems to know. And I tell you what, North Side is a very interesting district. As small and sleepy as it is, there seems to be a lot going on in that little district of North Side, and people tell you who the drug peddlers are, honey chill. Might be surprised. Well, we'll keep an eye on that case. Let's talk about court this week. I was watching this trial, and it was very, very interesting. It was a civilian police officer. So in the RCIPS, you have police officers. When you think of police officer, uniform, they go out to, calls and investigate stuff and whatever. And then you have the civilian arm of the RCIPS. And these are people like communications officers, for example. And so we have a young lady who was in court. She's from the District of East End. And she was charged with breach of trust. So the allegation against her was that, okay, here's the story. She's driving one morning and she pulls up in traffic, because if you drive from East End in the mornings, that's traffic, bumper to bumper traffic. She pulls up behind a vehicle that she claims did not have working brake lights. The prosecution's case was she was, bit of road rage, had her hands up, honking at the person, whatever. Then she goes into work as a communications officer at the RCIPS. accessed their RMS system, records management system, got the contact number because she took the time to take down a driver's plate number, got the contact information for the individual, and proceeded to call the person. Now, this is where it gets interesting. Apparently, the person that she called, who was the former owner of the vehicle, so the system wasn't completely updated, but it had someone linked to that vehicle. That woman had sold the vehicle to her daughter, but she actually has an app on her phone that automatically recorded all of her calls. So the phone call with this communications officer with the RCIPS was recorded. And you could hear her saying, am I speaking to Miss So-and-so, and do you own this type of vehicle? And she was like, I used to, but I actually sold it to my daughter. What's the problem? And she said, oh, I think she told the mother something about the brake lights and she needed to contact the daughter. And so the mother gave up the daughter's number. Now, the daughter's call wasn't recorded, but she called her, and the daughter says that she was, less than pleasant. And so then the charge is breach of trust. You're not supposed to go in to the system and use, oh gosh, I just dropped my little Ricola. You're not supposed to go in the system and access people's information for your personal use. This wasn't police business. This wasn't her supervisor asking her to make the phone call, et cetera, et cetera. And so it was a really interesting case, I must say. But it was a jury trial, and I've told you guys this before. You cannot predict with jury trials what they're going to do. She admitted, really, that it was unauthorized, and she didn't, but she claims that her defense was that she was trying to be a good Samaritan to warn this young lady that her brake lights were not working. She should get them fixed. The lady said there was nothing wrong with her brake lights. This is a situation where I guess she thought, this is what the other side said, the lady wasn't moving fast enough or whatever, and it was just a bit of a road rage, and she wanted to be able to call her and tell her off. Too bad that the daughter didn't have the recording thing on her phone, because I think it would have been a tighter case for the prosecution. Well, despite all of that, the prosecution had a senior detective there who has been an officer for 20 years. She's a good witness. I must say I was impressed with her. And the defense appealed to she was just a Caymanian trying to do the right thing. And, I was sitting there thinking, if your intent is one thing, like, okay, you want to do something for the right reason, let's just assume, let's believe her in that part, right? And it was obvious that certain things, like she blamed her attorney, like, they were like, okay, during the police interview, there was a lot of times that you could have said this versus this, and you didn't do that. You simply, you refused to answer questions and said, look at my statement, knowing full well that those answers were actually not in your statement. Why would you do that? Why would you not just tell the police? Oh, because my lawyer told me just to answer everything. Look at my statement. Anyway, the trial has been going on since last week, and it went well over 5 o'clock yesterday. And the jurors allowed her to walk free. They said not guilty. She's lucky. I'm going to tell you, she is really lucky, because I thought the jury was going to convict her, because she admitted that it was unauthorized use. But like I said, with jurors, you can't put no money on that, honey child. You would lose your head if you tried to bet on how a jury is going to go. It's like playing Russian roulette. You just never know. Morning, Mr. Dwayne. Morning to Carmelie. Dwayne just WhatsApp me, so I'll remember that you need to talk to me. So, It's really quite interesting that they allowed her to walk yesterday. This person says, good morning, Miss Sandy. Please hide my identity. I will only ask if this is allowed in Cayman. If you're chairman of a board in the government and you own a business, same field of your position, is it allowed? Because I know one company is benefiting from the government projects for so many years now. I see there's a conflict of interest and it's not fair to other companies. So, I mean, I would have to know a little bit more to be able to answer that question. But it's like the chairman of the planning board before was the owner of a business that some people said, how can that be? It's not a conflict of interest. Obviously, those things, there's nothing in the law that says it's a conflict of interest to put someone who owns a building supply company in charge of the planning board. I mean, oftentimes what they try to do is they try to put people who are familiar with that type of business. So you will have people, for example, who work in construction, who are developers on the planning board because they have a sense of, some of the concerns that might come up. Now, if you use that position to benefit yourself, you will end up like the guy in Northside in jail. Oh, gosh, let me quickly correct that. Charged with breach of trust and other offenses and potentially looking at a jail sentence. Yeah. All right. This morning, we have a truck that just went off the road in Red Bay at the roundabout. Y'all should be careful, honey chill. Slow down on these roads. So if you're in that area and you're experiencing some traffic this morning, that's why. Here's a picture of it. Y'all know we get the news. Quick. Look at that. Wow. How did that happen exactly? Is it raining this morning? I think the roads were a little bit wet from early morning rain. So y'all need to slow down now. I keep telling y'all. Take your time on these roads, honey child. And if you find yourself in an accident and it's no fault of your own, contact the good folks over at Recover. They got you covered. 924-9999. They'll help you recover. This one ended up in the bushes, my dear child. Poor them. Bad driving. So I've noted with interest that a lot of you continue to give the John accident over the weekend some interesting commentary. And I have reached out to the RCIPS for more information. So, listen, I wasn't there. The natural assumption is every time somebody has an accident, it's after 10 o'clock. Well, it must be a DUI. But that's just an assumption. Sometimes people have accidents for other reasons. Sometimes an accident is just an accident. Let me tell you all about an accident I almost had yesterday. I almost ran over a woman. She would have been seriously injured. So I'm driving, minding my own business, being attentive about 95%, because I don't think anybody's 100%. I'm coming out of the Hurley's roundabout. I'm coming from the eastern districts. Yeah. You come out of the Hurley's roundabout, and then there's that kind of, you start to straighten up a little bit, passing Scotia and about to pass the licensing department. All of a sudden, I see this woman in front of me. I don't even know where she came out from. She stepped off of the sidewalk. It was two of them. She was obviously being very adventurous and willing to take her life in her own hands and my hands yesterday. Stepped off the sidewalk, and I guess she was going to try to run, but she hadn't really started running yet. And she was literally in front of me, and I'm doing speed coming out of the roundabout. I had to slam on my brakes to avoid hitting this woman. And I'm like, woman, are you crazy? Are you suicidal? What the hell was this? I'm lucky, and she is very lucky that I got good brakes. She just jumped out of nowhere, and her friend who was with her didn't jump with her. She was standing there on the side still. Oh my God. Of all the places for you to try a thing, having traffic, that, first of all, that's a dangerous intersection no matter how you slice it. It's a roundabout with people coming from multiple directions. Do not try to cross the street anywhere in the vicinity of that roundabout. You have too many lines of traffic coming in all directions, trying to merge and get in the right lane. And, you know, they're looking behind them, checking, and you gonna jump out in front of a car? Oh my goodness. I literally had to slam on the brakes, and the car behind me, there was a truck behind me slamming on the brakes as well. She's lucky to be alive today. I'm just like, you guys, drivers and pedestrians, you need to be more careful. Oh, unbelievable. Just common sense should tell you that if you're at a dangerous intersection, you're walking and you want to cross the street, walk up the street a little bit further. You know what I'm saying? Don't do it there. So I don't know if she was trying to get over to like Grand Harbor or where exactly they were walking to. If the bus had just dropped them off, I don't know where they were coming, but I was like, girl, that is not the place to cross. And if you're going to cross there, you make sure all lanes are clear, like you got time to actually walk or run across the street properly. Perla says some people have no sense, lack of knowledge and common sense. Well, I tell you what, the move yesterday was actually pretty dangerous on her part, but I'm glad for my sake, because I would have been like John, y'all trying to say, was Sandy drunk in the morning? This was like 10:30 minutes to 11. Thank God for my dash cam. Y'all would have been like, was she drunk at that hour of the morning? What was going on? So y'all persist in asking questions about the John situation. We've gone back to the police again because they say that they have carried out their checks on location. And there was no suspicion that he was under the influence. Now, I don't know why, but it seems to me y'all are suspicious of John. Now, I've never known, I don't really, like I said, I'm not friends with John. I don't really know him to that extent at all. You know, he's had his little issues over the years, but I'm not aware of him being a drinker or someone who's gotten in. I mean, I guess all y'all drink. I don't know. I'm probably the only person came out who doesn't really drink. I'm one of few people. Y'all be up in church drinking, talking about, oh, it's the wine of the cloth of the man of Jesus, so we'll drink it. But I've never really heard any stories about him getting like sloppy or drinking and driving or anything like that. But doesn't mean, hey, there's a lot I don't hear. There are other MPs who've had a little issue with the bottle, and they're always getting in accidents. We know their history. I've never heard that about him. And, you know, I've been out to like different functions over the years. I remember years ago, I saw him at, Oh, this one place in Cayman Bay. I forget the name of it, but it's where they hosted John Legend. That's his name. Yeah, when he came to Cayman. And so I went to that event, and I remember seeing John there. And, he was there, but, I didn't notice him drinking really or drinking excessively or anything. And so I don't know if it's just that y'all just like, okay, all MPs are up to nothing, no good, no dirt, whatever. The premier actually showed up at the scene. We know this. And we know that John, because he said so, that he didn't call the premier. He didn't even tell the premier about it. And in fact, he didn't even know the premier was coming. I think the premier was like in the area, and then he heard about it and he was like, well, let me just go by and see what's going on. He wanted to probably satisfy himself that, oh, don't tell me another PAC member getting in trouble. And, we have no official comment from the premier, but I suspect that if he knew of anything untowards, it would have been a different outcome. Somebody would have been suspended as parliamentary secretary. So there's nothing to say that he was inebriated anyway. I'm messaging a young man who's like, can you post this for me about looking for an apartment, blah, blah, blah. I just said to him, this is me just being honest, because y'all know I got to tell people how it is. I just said to this individual, I said, I'm hearing that you're less than an ideal tenant and word is getting around. Soon you will find that no one wants to rent to you. Specifically. No, it can't be. It's hard enough already, folks, to get a place to rent out there. Much less if you are the tenant from hell and you're not taking care of people things. What do y'all think this is? And CMR not gonna be part of your shenanigans, so I'm gonna post it for you when we know that you're the tenant from hell. Y'all must be crazy. 936 Bobo is the telephone number. Aliano says pickup trucks are front heavy, prone to spinouts. Yes, certain types of vehicles you have to be very, very careful with. Even SUVs drive differently than a car. And you've got to take your time getting to know your vehicle. I remember when I first got my car that I just sold the other day, my what was it, GLC 250, whatever. I was coming around that corner, where the horse farm is on Linford Pearson. Now they've added like another lane or whatever, but I was coming around that, and that corner seems to have had a little bit, it was like different. And the balance of because it was a new car. What was I driving before that? I was driving my HRV, I think, my CRV. But this car handled differently. And so I remember coming around that corner and feeling like I was doing it too fast, really, and I was losing a little bit of control. So, every time after that I would come for the next 5 years, when I would do that corner, I was like, I remember the first time I did the corner in this car, it was different. So I really slow down and take my time on that corner. Because literally I felt like I was gonna spin out into the bushes. Now you have these new fandango cars that try to give you advice. Listen, this one that I'm in now, it'll tell you brake, and it actually, if it sees something like this woman yesterday, it'll actually brake for me if it's seeing me not braking and there's something in front of me. Sometimes it's a little bit scary though, because I'm like, I want control of the car, but the car is trying to control me. So, yes, Aliano, that's a good point, that you've got to know what vehicle you're in and how that vehicle handles. And if it's a different vehicle, you're driving a different car than you normally drive, or it's a new vehicle, whatever, be careful. Perla says, for that trial, this sounds like I know her thing. Well, I mean, like I said, the jury, all how many of them were there? I think there was 7. They had a chance to hear all the evidence. Hello, Anthony. How are you? Good morning. Sujit says, I don't know how the law works here, but would it now be legal if someone again takes personal information from a confidential database? Just curious. Well, I mean, this was the whole question. It's a database that if she has authorization, she can use. So it came down to one of, did she have authorization? Now, she brought on a witness who was a superintendent, I believe, or superintendent, who basically said that, they do give her additional duties and she's a good worker. She's been there for, I think, 6 or 7 years or whatever. Sometimes they jokingly call her PC so-and-so because she's actually a really good worker. And if they assign different tasks to her, she will do it. But the purpose for which she was using the RMS system or using RMS that day was not something that she sought authorization for and that she was given authorization for. And so even though he was there as a defense witness, he pretty much said that no, that wasn't something she was really authorized to do. So it was kind of weird. Like, I don't know how the jury came to the conclusion that they did. In other jurisdictions like the US, for example, after a case, jurors can speak to the media. They speak to the media all the time. There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing that prohibits people in Cayman from doing it, but I've never seen anyone here do it because I would like to know, what were you guys discussing in that jury room? Like, how did you come to the conclusion? What made you tip you on her side to say not guilty? Good morning, caller. Welcome to the program. Uh-oh. They hung up. I think they're like, child, you're wasting my credit. Don't worry. I feel like we'll be getting a toll-free number soon. Hint, hint, Flo. Flo, I'm sending you some mind vibes. Morning, caller.
Good morning. I did not put on my mobile data, so I cut you off.
Oh, okay. No problem.
Good morning. How are you doing?
Good, sir. How are you?
No, the bill is on you.
Yeah, I know. That's true. I was just telling people, hopefully we'll have a toll-free number soon. Don't worry.
Okay, good. Guess what now? You're on my street, so I have to call you.
Mm-hmm.
And because you're on my street, I have to time in.
Okay.
Okay, my time?
Yes, sir.
All right. When your vehicle is negotiating a curb path, there's a force acting upon the center of mass of the vehicle, and it starts with C. You finish it for me.
The force?
There's a force acting up in the center of mass of a vehicle when it's negotiating a curved path.
Oh.
I know you did physics in school.
Oh gosh, I feel like I know this too.
I'm gonna speak slow. I'm gonna teach fast or learn fast. I have my student to pick up shoes in a driving test. So catch it. It's coming. A vehicle is negotiating a curved path, and there's a force acting up in the center of mass. It started C. Catch it. It's coming. It's called centrifugal force.
Yes.
Catch it?
Yes. I was. I had it. I had it on the tip of my tongue. Yes.
Don't forget it. And guess what? You should never brake when you're going on a curved path because you're interrupting the grip of the tires on the road surface.
You should never brake
whilst negotiating a curved path. You should brake.
Oh gosh, hold on. Here's another message coming in. Morning, Sandra. There's a car by the roundabout right after you pass the horse stables, just what I was talking about, going into the cricket field that's smoking from the hood, and no one is in it. Dangerous situation. Can somebody contact the police about that? Police, are you listening? Car looks like it might be catching on fire by the horse stables. Wow. All right, continue, sir.
Yes. Brake only when driving straight. Never brake while it's going around a curved path.
So never brake when,
Because if you brake while it's going around a curved path, you're going to interrupt the grip of the tires on the road.
But what if you're already going too fast and you have to brake to take control when you're in the curb?
Gentle steer on the bend. Do not brake. You're going to lose grip and you're going to run off the road. you're gonna end up.
Well, not a hard brake, but a soft brake.
I said gentle.
Okay.
I remember gentle brake.
All right.
You know, I remember this from my driver training course with the Staffordshire Police Department, and rainfall every day in Stafford for the 5 weeks. I remember that driver training instructor, he said, gentle brake. It's a gentle brake because you know the road is wet. And I remember that truck keeps saying gentle brake because
Gently
you know
brake.
wet road in England every day, rainfall every day. It's like you see outside is cloudy for all week this week. Gentle brake. You can't brake harsh. Harsh brake. I don't know when I get your driver's license. I want to get this cross quickly. Even years ago when you get your driver's license.
Well, I tell you what, I actually
quickly.
didn't learn to drive in Cayman, so I will tell you that that you know my knowledge of what happens here with licensing is very limited.
Okay, let me get this across quickly. Years ago, when you go for your driver's license, there were some questions there. They have name the rules of skidding, and they used to have on it. I remember quite clearly. People used to have there saying slippery road surface, smooth tires, all those garbage, and they were accepted. All those were real garbage. Smooth tires doesn't cause skidding, and slippery road surface doesn't cause skidding. Mind you, you're more prone to get into a skid if you have, let's say, wet road on those foolishness. If that was true, if that was true, you know, and I prove it to some guys I was teaching driver training years ago. I said, if that is true, we're going to prove it today. I went to the government place where they do the works on police cars, and they asked the guy to change the tires from put on 4 smooth tires. And we drove from Georgetown all the way to Knox, and it was rainy season right now. I don't call it I don't call it hurricane season because I don't want hurricane. I want to keep it the way it is. So, you know, we didn't have any skid. Just to prove to them that there is no cause of skidding when you have wet road or smooth tires.
Okay.
So smooth tires on wet road doesn't cause skidding. If you get one of these new road code that they sell, they don't sell them anymore. So I know you have it in your phone. So can you distribute to your friends?
Yes, we did. We did share it when we got it the other day as well. I must admit.
Please do it.
Yes.
2012 edition of road code.
All right, appreciate it.
It will tell that the cause of skidding is driver's error.
Driver's error. Wow.
Four causes of skidding. Excessive speed. Harsh or sudden braking.
Yes.
And erratic steering.
Thank you, my dear.
Yes.
I appreciate it always.
Wet road doesn't cause anyone to skid. It's all the driver's error. Something the driver did that caused it to skid.
Okay. All right. Remember that. Y'all get on it, folks. Drive properly.
Yes. When you're going around a bend, you're gonna have that force acting upon the vehicle. You feel that vehicle is leaning over to one side. If it's a right-hand bend, you're gonna be vehicle leaning over to the left. So you're approaching a bend, you can see the bend coming up. Start reduce your speed on the straight. Don't wait until reaching the bend. You start braking. It's bad because you're gonna lose the grip of the tires on the road surface.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, then have a good day.
All right, my dear. All right, folks, appreciate the phone call, 936-2626. We're going to start in a minute here, just a little bit. Not everybody's believing it. This person said, wet road doesn't cause you to skid. They're like, Okay. So Moya says, but it was a breach of trust as well as breach of the data protection law. Come on, jury pool, get it together. Your intent does not matter if it's contradictory to the laws in place. If you break the law, then you're guilty. If you got even 1 mile over, if you go even 1 mile over the speed limit and the police decide to issue a ticket, you can argue that you're only 1 mile over the. You know what, Moya? I think there is a little bit of a difference here, and I'll explain to you in law what it is, right? More serious offenses require what they call mens rea. So in other words, there's a mental element that is often required. And the judge said something in his instructions that I thought was a little bit confusing, to be honest. But he said something like, I actually wrote it down in my notes, but he said something like they would have to feel that she had some sort of nefarious reason for accessing the information. And I wasn't quite sure that nefarious is the right word, but that was the actual word that he used. So in other words, the example that you just gave about going 1 mile over the speed limit, those are strict liability offenses. So in law, strict liability offenses, normally traffic offenses, for example, it does not matter what you were thinking at all. So did you mean to go over the speed limit? It doesn't matter. If you're over the speed limit, that's it. So those offenses only require the actus reus, or the act to be done. More serious offenses, criminal offenses, require both the actus reus and the mens rea to be present at the time of the commission. Now, how do you know what was in somebody's head? That is why the prosecution was pointing to things like how she was acting when she was driving the car. Who are you going to believe? Her version of the stories, which is like, oh, she's just animated and she drives and talks with her hands, and that's all that was. They must have believed her, obviously. Or she was doing that because she's in a moment of road rage, and that's why when the witness took the stand and testified to that, that's why she saw her going on like that. And it is a matter for the jury to interpret who they're going to believe, how much of what a witness says that they're going to believe, et cetera, et cetera. At one point during her testimony, she, began to lose it a little bit, and they had to take a break. She started to get very upset. Another day, the day that I showed up, by the end of the day, the following day, which would have been the second day that I was going to hear it, they had to postpone it because she had some sort of a panic attack and had to be taken to the hospital. At first, they thought she'd had a stroke, apparently, but that wasn't the case. It was just a panic attack. So, she probably started to fret that she was going to be all over Cayman Mall Road in a minute, and it brought on a panic attack. I don't know. So strict liability offenses, that's not the best example, Ms. Moya, because they're actually very different type of offenses. So, yeah. So Ms. Moya says, come on now, you guys really think that he would call the premier out to the scene and he was drunk, he would smell it immediately, and your eyes would show it, pick sense out of nonsense. Well, he didn't call the premier at all. And somebody said that they read the story. Maybe the story is a little bit confusing. I'll review it, but he didn't call the premier. He said that he told people when he was in an accident. Now, I'm trying to understand if he was there with a friend, like if the friend was in the vehicle, but he actually said that he told someone there to call the police. So maybe he was not in a position to do so. Maybe he was all, when you get in an accident, sometimes you're a little bit frazzled and whatever. So, maybe he, for whatever reason, just said, call the police. The police attended the scene. So to be very, very clear, Darlene said, why did the premier show up is my question. I suspect that the premier was just on his way home as well. And he heard about an MP, one of his PAC members, being in an accident. Why not show up? This is Cayman. Everybody knows everybody. And I think the premier probably showed up just out of genuine concern. Like, oh my God, what happened? I'm in the area, driver, just pull over here and let's see what's going on. So I don't think that there was any sort of, let's use the word nefarious again. That'll be our word of the day now. I don't think that there was any sort of nefarious reason why the premier showed up, other than he was probably concerned about what had happened. And I do believe that, had he shown up and made his own observations that the MP was intoxicated it would have been a different situation. So Ms. Sue says people are building apartment blocks behind their homes, now bigger than their house. There's no way they got planning permission to build these blocks behind their homes. Extension, yes. No problem. The inspector needs to check this out. Well, I think you need to probably provide a little bit more information as to where these homes are. You know, I spoke to someone in PAC and I said, we definitely need the planning department to come on the show, because it has occurred to me that a lot of people do not know what is required of them when it comes to planning. So I have a little project that I want to do next year. And I have, you know, trying to get some quotes and stuff together, said to the contractors, oh, is this something I need planning for? And according to them, oh, no, you don't. You don't need planning for that. And I'm figuring, okay, these guys do stuff every single day. They should know, shouldn't they? What planning is needed for? Believe me, don't take their word for it. Because out of an abundance of caution, I said, let me check with somebody who actually works with planning. And this person said to me, Sandra, these guys do not know what they're talking about. A lot of times I think that they are just wanting to get the job and get it done. But I'm like, listen, y'all not going to be mixing me up in the foolishness. Next thing you know, I end up on Mall Road about Sandy didn't get planning permission to put up this thing and blah, blah, blah. Y'all be loving that. Look at her. She's always trying to tell people to follow the law and she's not doing it herself. So I said, let me just ask. Doesn't cost any money to ask the person. This is what my response was on Sunday when I was asking. Thank you to the good people of planning who respond to me even on a Sunday. This person said, hey, good morning. Yes, planning permission is required for all structures, including pergolas, shed, gazebos, tents, any structure. Do not make anyone fool you. Even the 10% house edition was removed because people were abusing it, adding on every single month instead of once in a lifetime. Do you know that planning permission is also required for signs on buildings? Fidelity Bank, now called Proven Bank, changed the sign on West Bay Road of their Fidelity Financial Center, whatever it's called, without planning permission, and they had to undo it. Planning made them put it back because you're not, my apologies. And this was news to me. I had no idea. I'm like, a building sign? Yes, apparently. Who knew? Well, I guess Fidelity people should have known. Planning tell them to put it back and ask for permission. I wonder if they got fined for that. Good morning, Dr. Lokloy. Cayman Kind Action Committee says we're tired of requesting more planning compliance officers. Well, I keep hearing something going on at planning, but nobody can tell me exactly what it is. Everybody's like, Sandy, you need to get on them like how you did the port. But anyway, you know, yeah, we need to hear from planning to hear the do's and the don'ts and to just get some good, accurate information. Atlas, good morning, joining us from the UK today. Says never break on a wet road going around a roundabout. That much I can confirm. That sounds like Atlas has had an accident to know. Gabby says, please tell these dummies that got their license from a Cracker Jack box that you are not supposed to block the roundabout even if you're in traffic. Always leave space for cars to pass. Oh, Gabby, I'm so glad you brought that up. Can I also say that you do not block any intersection? All right. You guys know where Cotton Club, what is that building called? That nightclub building, whatever Cotton Club is, right? There's that side road that you turn, if you're coming from Georgetown Central, like in the middle of Georgetown, you're going to turn right on that side road. The Bodden building is over Yasso. Then there's the, what's the other building that's on the side across from Cotton Club building? Oh, I forget what it's called. But people block that intersection all the time. So they're stuck in traffic on Shedden Road, trying to go like towards either Sound Road. They'd be turning right, passing the Compass building, Kirk office, all that kind of stuff, right? So they'd go right. They just can't figure out that little, you need to leave space there. And this is for any roads. Even when it's bumper to bumper traffic, you don't block that. And the other day I was there trying to turn, and one of the drivers I recognized, I meant to WhatsApp her to say, honey child, do you not know you're not supposed to block an intersection? Because I saw the look on her face when I was like, why are y'all blocking the intersection? She looked perturbed. I'm like, you're the one who's in the wrong. I'm trying to turn, right? Because then what you're forcing me to do is block traffic in the opposite direction, which there's no need to do so. There's really only traffic in one lane on that side. But they were so bumper to bumper, refusing to leave space for cars to turn. So now I have to stop, put on my indicator, and cannot move. And when I'm looking at them, like, do y'all know, as Gabby said, I was asking the same question. Which cracker box, Jack, did you get your license out of? Because everybody knows that you don't block an intersection. Eucalyptus building. Thank you, Sherry Ann. Yes, that turn right between Eucalyptus building and Baden building, they block it all the time. I'm like, where did you get your license from? You do not block an intersection. But child, they blocking it and then looking at me. I was like, if you see cars in front of you, right, and you don't have enough space, you just you fall back and leave the space so people can turn. Ugh. Anyway, Gabby, we need a lot of PSAs on how to drive in this country. NRA needs to be, they've been doing a good job putting stuff up on their social media platforms. We have been sharing a lot of them. I need to look and see what the latest one is that they have up. So kudos to NRA. But we need all of the agencies related to road safety, police, send these messages out. Do radio ads. Do not block intersections, people, and show a little visual with an example of this is an intersection and this is what you don't do. Oh my goodness. Soka, good morning. Soka says brake before turn and depress gas pedal lightly when going through the turn, which holds the car on the road. That's what works for me. Well, it shouldn't even be about what works for you. It should really be about what is correct driving procedure. And I feel like a lot of us need a refresher course, probably including myself. Darlene says when your business license is issued, planning tells you about the signs. So I guess they might have known. Carol says if you can't exit the intersection, you don't enter the intersection, even if your traffic light is green. Well, that too. And I saw a lot of that because, traffic was crazy. Friday, Monday, Tuesday, traffic has been crazy. It was like Christmas time around town. And I saw that happening a lot where people, this was by Delworth's gas station on the waterfront, right by the cemetery, people were getting in, although to be honest, the traffic going on Eastern Avenue, you couldn't even, it was so backed up, you couldn't even join it. So I guess it didn't matter. But yes, no, it does matter because that's the correct law, as Carol says. You don't get into an intersection and block an intersection. So that's another example of the light is green and you have the green, right? You wait at the light unless you already have the clearance to go beyond the light. Don't sit in the intersection. Although in this case, for practical purposes, traffic coming the other way because traffic was backed up on Eastern Avenue too, had nowhere to turn. They just had to wait until the traffic kind of freed up a little bit. But these all seem like really simple road rules that we don't seem to have any clue about. And isn't that sad? Thank you. Yes, that was Eucalyptus building. Oh, honey child, I got another Cayman for a story coming here today. Y'all hold on for it. All right. So someone is sending me some information here about that potential conflict of interest. What a hot mess. So someone says, don't forget that the fishing boats from Honduras, they bring in more coke than Jamaican boats. And I said, yes, that could be true. I wouldn't doubt that. Hello. But Jamaica is bringing in lots of marijuana and guns. Listen, I don't care where they're coming from. I don't care if it's coming from Timbuktu. The point is, if we know that our ports of entry are subject to, being taken advantage of, then we all need to, not we all, the Port Authority and the police and the Coast Guard need to start checking these vessels, double checking them, cross checking them. Take the drug dogs on board to sniff out stuff. I watch this show occasionally. We're going to have our Cayman voices coming up, so keep listening. I watch this show occasionally on TV called Border something or another. I was telling Mary about it the other day because I was like, oh gosh, Mary, you got to watch this show. But it is out of it's a show based in Australia. I think they might do other countries, but the episode I was watching had to do with Australia border control. And the things that they do, right? The checks that they carry out at all of their ports is just so interesting. They've got the x-rays, they've got the dogs, they have the swabs that they do on shoes and different stuff that they pick up a trace of cocaine, child. One poor little guy, he had an empty suitcase. Well, it appeared empty. And he was like, they were like, he was suspicious and flagged because he basically made like a one-day trip. He went to, I think it was China, and then came back with an empty suitcase. And they're like, who goes to China for a day and comes back with an empty suitcase? So his story was he had forgotten a suitcase or whatever, had to buy a suitcase there, and ended up, because of the shortness of his trip, not being able to do the shopping that he intended to do. So he brought the suitcase back with him, and they were like, that story sounds suspicious. So they swabbed him and his suitcase, and they picked up traces of cocaine. So, oh my gosh, one second. This cough is still with me. Not as bad as it was, but whoo. Let me have a lozenge. Oh, last night it was a little bit ticklish, jow. So anyway, they were like, sir, your story sounds a little suspicious. They took a knife, took him into the deep section of, we're gonna really search you. Child, they cut open so much of that suitcase, all the hidden compartments so you could possibly hide anything. They cut it open, and they searched and searched and searched, and couldn't find anything. So apparently, wherever he, excuse my smacking, but I'm trying to coat my throat a little bit here. Wherever in China he bought that suitcase, must have had some kind of traces of cocaine in the area. And it did get in the suitcase. And to be fair, I suppose traces could also get on if your suitcase is touching like other suitcases or whatever, it could get on it, right? Was it Vietnam? No, I think this one was China. Do you watch this show? It's called, I was trying to look up the name of it again. I was telling Mary about it the other day. I was like, oh, I've caught it a couple of times. It comes on, I think it's replayed on Saturday mornings. So sometimes I catch it on one of those UK channels. I forget what it's called now. Anyway, It's a really, really interesting show, but so they cut up the suitcase. I mean, literally cutting all parts of the suitcase. And then they were like, oh, okay, well, you're right. This suitcase doesn't have anything. So the poor little guy, he was from some African country, but he was staying in Australia. Oh no, this is on TV. It's a really good show. So anyway, they literally cut open his little suitcase, child, cut the side, everything. Child, I would have thrown that suitcase in the garbage. I'm like, what the hell am I going to do with a cut up suitcase? But anyway, he took his little suitcase and went about his business. He said he was just happy to be cleared, and that he didn't actually have any drugs on him. But they're not business with you. Yes, if they got to cut your suitcase and cut into stuff, they are doing their jobs, and they seem to have a very thorough process in place. So good for them. And if we have to take a more thorough approach, like if people are saying to you that these Honduras boats are bringing stuff in, child, you look in every fish, because they had a drug bust the other day. They were hiding the drugs in tin food. They hide them in the fish. They hide them in everything. Listen to me. X-ray the damn fish if you have to. You know what I'm saying? You need to be trained on how to detect things and where it might be hidden, what hidden compartments and whatever. Send your guys on training courses. That's where we want to spend our money, to prevent Cayman from being an importation country or even a transportation country. Because sometimes we are not the intended destination, but it's simply going through this country in some form or another. And neither situation, to be quite frank, is a good situation to be in. Yeah? So let's get it together, Cayman. I believe that we can actually do better than we are doing at the moment. All right. Let me just see here who else we got. So far too slack around here, says Jim. Jim also says the worst irresponsible, inconsiderate drivers are here on this island. Atlas says they don't stop over and don't stop over pedestrian crossing. That too. Y'all need to do some more driving tests and stuff. Yep. I see that happening all the time. Wanda says they blocked the road the roundabout at the other end of that road. Like, you mean the one closest to Mango Tree and Foster's? That roundabout? I see people blocking roundabouts all the time. Even the one getting onto Linford Pearson when you go down by Jose's gas station, right? They're always blocking roundabouts as well. And I'm like, why? I feel like I just bit my tongue. Sorry. Okay, this show just went from being a decent show to being so weird. I'm like trying to figure out, hold on, I should have just turned the camera off. I feel like this thing just cut my tongue. I believe I may have done, y'all like, Sandy, why is your tongue out on the show? Jim says we're no longer the little quaint island that we once were. That's long gone, Jim. Long time ago. Oh, John LaRue says, can people please learn to signal within the roundabouts? John, I always try to signal. I think the roundabouts in particular, but I always try to signal because nobody is a mind reader on the roads. And sometimes you have an intention to do a certain thing. Other drivers don't know that, but if you signal with enough time, they can figure out what it is that you're trying to do. So thank you for that reminder, Jim. That's why it's there to be used. Yes. Please repeat, not just translate what the driving teacher says. Although he tries to speak slow, I find it difficult to decipher. His introduction of "See, I didn't understand." I appreciate his good intention to inform from this platform. "See, ... when you were trying to remember the term." Okay. So I think the caller speaks a little bit in riddles, which is just how he speaks. So I think everybody has a different way. And so he tends to start off by asking a question, like a little bit of a riddle, to see if we could remember. And to be honest, I was thinking of the term and now I've forgotten it again. What did he say it was? Oh gosh. Back in my brain. I'll get it to you, caller, and send it offline. Yeah. This person says, this is why you should not buy secondhand suitcases. Border force in the UK and border control Australia. Too many people do not get stopped going through Oran Roberts International Airport. And I'm sure that A, we could stop a lot of illegal things coming in, and B, we could collect more duty or customs-based revenue to help the islands. It is their job to stop and search, yet they don't. What gets me is when a train of cars is on a main road and the car in front stops suddenly to let a single car in from the side road. This is so dangerous. And you know, that last point, the first point, definitely. I think border control does a decent job. I mean, I've only traveled a handful of times, obviously, since COVID, but from what I've seen, they do a decent job when you're coming in to this jurisdiction. But in relation to stopping for cars, a lot of times people are trying to be courteous. And sometimes, you know, I like to be a courteous driver, but sometimes you do more harm stopping for a vehicle to turn than you do just going with the flow of traffic and giving them an opportunity when they can take an opportunity. So in other words, you don't cause an accident trying to be a good Samaritan by letting somebody out, right? And I think that caller's point is a good one to make. Good morning, caller.
Centrifugal force.
Centrifugal force. Thank you. Your brain clicking. I'm gonna send this. I'm gonna send this along to this person so they can have it. Okay. I'll send you the definition and everything. So it is an apparent force that acts outward on a body moving around a center, arising from the body's inertia. So this is part of the Newtonian mechanics. Interesting. And it's not just roundabouts. I mean, obviously roundabouts around, but it's other types of things that you might be doing as well. And for those of us who are not paying attention in physics, I suppose, you would know that there's actually a formula. So the centrifugal force equals the mass, which is m, w, which is the angular velocity. So w squared, and then r, which is the distance from the origin. So there's a whole little formula and everything that goes with it. Interesting. Yes, very good. I'll send this to you, my love, so you can read up on it. A lot of us were not paying attention during some of these courses when we were in school, or maybe we just never took them, but I think it's interesting to learn a little bit. Someone says To Catch a Smuggler is also a great show on the Discovery Channel. Yes. Newton's law, but if they just look in the rearview mirror before they decide to suddenly stop, would be the right and safe thing to do. So true. Yeah, you know, listen, I'm not going to claim to be the world's best driver because honestly, I am not at all. Normally, I'm distracted by a lot of different things. And we all think that we can multitask and we can talk on the phone and we can do this and we can do that. There is a lot to be said for attentive driving. So pay attention. Yeah. I think I definitely cut my tongue on this little thing this morning. Oh, Lord. So pay attention to and be a more conscious driver, a more conscientious driver. Yes. But consciousness will tell you there are times when it's not appropriate to brake to let one car out. Tommy says, I learned how to signal on a roundabout on CMR. Showed a video some time back. Really? I should try to find that video. But yes. And you also need to know what lanes to be in. Like we need more, not just diagrams, because not everybody can understand a diagram. We need an actual visual, how to properly use a roundabout. If you're in the inner lane, cutting across people ends in a collision most often. And I see people doing it all the time. Me, myself, I have done it. But when I do it, I make sure, number one, I indicate, as John said. And number two, if I don't have the clearance to do it, because I might have forgot where I'm going, I'm in that inner lane, I go back around the roundabout and get back in the outer lane. The perfect example for this one is the ALT roundabout. You want to go to Cayman Bay? You shouldn't be in that inner lane to go to Cayman Bay. You get in that outer lane. If you're coming from down Sound Road, get in the outside lane. So the outside lane should take you to the turnoff for Eastern Avenue. And it should also take you around the roundabout and onto Esterly Tibbetts. You shouldn't be in the inside lane trying to get onto Esterly Tibbetts. Although people think it's okay because there's 2 lanes in the roundabout and there are 2 lanes going to Esterly Tibbetts. So they think, well, if I'm in the inside lane, that's fine. The problem is the outside lane doesn't have to go to Esterly Tibbetts. And that's the mistake that you make, is you do not know if that person is going to Esterly Tibbetts or they're going to continue around the roundabout. And if they continue around the roundabout and you're in the inside lane and you're trying to cross over, you're going to run right into them. Yeah, that's why you don't use that inside lane to try to make that turn. So I think we could all use a bit more visuals, as it were, to help us figure these things out. Benji says, this is a good one. He says, sometimes I wonder if they think that using the indicator is connected to their light bill or something. Benjamin, hold on. That one deserves a little laugh here because that is really funny. Hold on. Yes. Because that is so true. People are not using it because they're like, it's going to cost me money. Oh my goodness. So Jim says people driving 30 to 40 miles an hour in a 50 mile per hour zone are just as dangerous as the speeders. People then are passing every chance they get to get around these slow drivers. Sujit reminds us that we should be attentive and defensive drivers. And he also says that washing machines have centrifugal force. That's why the clothes wash and dry due to this force. Good morning to Strong Will. They need to put a sign there. Sign where? By the ALT roundabout? Well, I'm convinced that is the most accident-prone roundabout on this island. I think the other Cayman Bay roundabout now is probably in the number 2 spot. NRA is going to be coming on the show next week, I believe. So make sure you guys tune in for that. Okay, good stuff. All right, so let's do our news with Kevin Watler. Now, I don't want you guys to click off because you are going to love, and when I say love, I do mean love. The interview Cayman Voices today, brought to you courtesy of the DART organization. We need other sponsors, folks. So if you're people like Brit K, Flow, all you corporate entities, message me about sponsoring this segment. Is like a no-brainer, because some of y'all are like, oh, we don't want to sponsor anything controversial. This isn't controversial. This is family friendly. It's wonderful. It's educational. It's Cayman culture. It's about who we are as a people. I get to interview some of the most wonderful people in this community, older folks. You know, if you're all about that, reach out to me to sponsor this segment. I love, and I genuinely mean this from the bottom of my heart, I love doing these interviews. I don't show up with a script. I don't show up with a single piece of paper. I don't even show up with any questions, really. I just tell them, we arrange a time, and I'm coming to interview you. And then we start at the beginning. I normally say, you know, what was life like? Where are you from? Tell us who are your parents. And then we just kick off and have a conversation. And so Cayman Voices is your opportunity to get some insight into the stories of these individuals in our community. John says, I believe you might be incorrect on the ALT roundabout. If you're exiting straight across the roundabout, as in the S3 Tibbetts, you can exit from the middle lane. The middle lane being the inside lane, there's only 2 lanes. So I'm not saying that you can't do it. I'm saying I would never recommend it. You should be in the outside lane because that's the better way to avoid an accident. But anyway, can someone do, you know what we need done with that roundabout? Drone footage. And then this is NRA. Listen, NRA, I got an idea for you now. Giving you a free idea. On a Sunday, when there's normally less traffic, cut off that roundabout. Say the roundabout's going to be closed for an hour. And then you set up drivers, professional, I'll put that in quotes because I don't know if we have any professional drivers in Cayman. Professional drivers to demonstrate when you're using this roundabout and you want to go this way, this way, this way, this way, this way. So how about 4 or 5 cars going around the roundabout and showing how to do it depending on where you want to go? Scenario number 1, if you'd like to go to Cecily Tibbetts, here's what you do and here's what you don't do. That's 2 short videos. Scenario number 2, if you're trying to go down to Industrial Park, here's how you do it. If you're coming from Sound Road and you're trying to go to Industrial Park, this is, if you're coming from Cecily Tibbetts and you're trying to go from, that roundabout needs a full dissection. And it's going to require more than 1 video because you have to show people, break it down, depending on where you're coming from and where you're going, this is what you should do. That's my suggestion. One that says, I love Cayman Voices. It's so important to know your history. So let's listen to the news first from Kevin Watler, and then stay tuned from Cayman Voices. Now, for some reason, you're at work already and you're thinking, oh my gosh, Sandy, I'm going to miss it. We will play it as a separate piece on our social media platforms over the weekend. So you can catch it again. But oh gosh, I got to tell you, this particular interview with 2 sisters, one is 85 and one is 90. And they were so funny and so interesting. I laughed and I listened to them sing and we talked, and it was just a beautiful, absolutely beautiful interview. All right. Okay, we'll pass that message on to NRA. All right, stay tuned for the news, folks, and then Cayman Voices right after that.
Hello, I'm Kevin Watler, and this is your CMR Daily Buzz. A 29 and 31-year-old men from Northside were arrested on suspicion of possession of cocaine with intent to supply. The arrest took place Monday afternoon at an address off Frankstown Road. During the search, police recovered a plastic bag containing a significant quantity of suspected cocaine along with drug paraphernalia. Police are investigating a robbery that took place Monday night at the Queens Highway East End subway. Just before 7, it was reported that a masked man entered the location with a firearm and demanded cash from workers. He then fled the scene with a quantity of cash. The suspect is described as being about 5'10" in height, of light complexion, and was dressed in all black with black pants, shoes, gloves, and a mask. He then left in a silver sedan. Captain Atlee Evans received the prestigious Tommy Guilford Award from the International Game Fishing Association. The Gala Awards presentation was one of the highlights of the 63rd Fort Lauderdale International Boat Show, which took place last week. Among his many lifetime achievements, Captain Evans is credited as having helped to develop the sport fishing in the Cayman Islands as well as throughout the Caribbean since the 1960s. The Cayman Islands leg of the NORCECA Under-23 Beach Volleyball Tour was officially opened by the Honorable Bernie Bush, Minister for Youth, Sports, Culture and Heritage, and Mushtaq Mohammed, Vice President of the NORCECA Volleyball Confederation. The Under-23 tournament is being hosted by the Cayman Islands for the first time with 14 teams competing, 7 male and 7 female from Cayman, Aruba, Canada, Jamaica, Trinidad and Tobago, and the United States of America. Now for your CMR weather update, it's brought to you by WG Charters. Sunrise at 6:26. Thunderstorms are likely in the morning with the temperatures at 85 degrees Fahrenheit and humidity at 79% like the forecast calls for. It will feel around 90 degrees if the sun is out in the afternoon. Winds east at 10 to 20 miles per hour and the sun sets at 5:51. At nighttime, the temperature falls to the low 80s. Looking forward, a decrease in shower activity by the weekend and hot days, warm nights with the possibility of brief showers return. CMR weather updates are brought to you by WG Charters. They offer private boat trips for a great price, so we encourage you to support them.
Stormwatch 2022 is brought to you by Home Gas, your propane experts before, during, and after the storm.
Tropical storm Lisa is heading for Belize. It is expected to become a hurricane before landfall. Other areas that will be impacted from Lisa are Honduras, Guatemala, and Mexico. Now for some regional and international news. A former education minister in the British Virgin Islands was arrested and charged for breach of trust by a public officer in relation to the building of a perimeter wall at a high school that had major cost overruns. Myron Walwyn was arrested and charged Tuesday. The perimeter wall project caused major controversy and led to the authorities to launch a formal investigation, which ended in 2020. A Royal Navy ship that has been in the Caribbean for the hurricane season seized more than 400 kilograms or close to 900 pounds of cocaine from a vessel near the Dominican Republic. This carries a street value of just over $27 million. The crew of HMS Medway, working in conjunction with the U.S. Coast Guard Law Enforcement Detachment, detained 3 crew members when they boarded the vessel. The recent attempted kidnapping of 3 air traffic controllers near the international airport in Port-au-Prince, Haiti, is raising concerns about the safety of the Caribbean country's airspace. The International Federation of Air Traffic Controllers Association said it is gravely concerned following the armed attack which took place Saturday afternoon while the employees were being transported to work. That's it for now on the Daily Buzz. Thank you for joining me. Please stay safe and God bless.
Cayman Voices was a dream that I had for several years now. It's about taking the power of storytelling to embrace our own collective history as a people. Through our individual stories, we're able to see the common thread that binds us together as one. One person's personal journey has become our collective culture, heritage, and history. This series will show people from all walks of life sitting down with me as the host and going through their life journey. Sometimes there are unknown elements of their lives, but ultimately we're going to walk away having learned something new with every person that we sit down with. I guess I would explain it as an exploration of our story. I'm naturally curious about people and their lives, so Cayman Voices is exciting and allows me to capture this for everyone to enjoy. We are seeking out Caymanians, multi-generational, as well as some who have moved here to, uproot their entire lives and to make this their home. This dream would not be possible without some sponsorship, and so I'd like to thank the DART organization for stepping up to the plate to ensure that we're able to deliver regular monthly content for our viewers to enjoy. So sit back, kick up your feet, turn up the radio, relax, and listen to Cayman Voices. Okay, we're here for another segment of Cayman Voices. Absolutely delighted to be in the beautiful district of West Bay. And with me today, we have Miss Josephine Emily Knox, formerly McTaggart, and we have Miss Cecily Elizabeth Roulstone, who we're going to call Miss Beth today. So Miss Beth and Miss Josephine, good day, ladies. How are you?
Good morning. We're doing well.
Yes, so good to see you. Miss Josephine's checking her watch to make sure it's still morning.
Right.
That's okay. So we're gonna just talk a little bit about your history growing up in the Cayman Islands. As Caymanians say, who your fa, who your mama is, who your daddy is, and just about your childhood and what are some of the things that you love the most about growing up in Cayman of yesteryear, if you will. So the two of you are actually sisters, is that right?
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
The oldest one, the youngest one.
The oldest
Other
and the
one
youngest.
died, middle one.
The middle sister
There were three
died.
of us.
Yes.
Great.
So let's talk a little bit then about your lineage, right? So McTaggart is a well-known name, but what part of the McTaggart clan are you connected to? Who were your parents?
I think we're connected to all the McTaggarts.
Yes.
That came from here anyhow.
Yes.
So it is the whole McTaggart clan is a pretty big group, although many of them went to the States, to earn a living and settled there, but they return periodically to for reunions and that sort of thing.
Okay. So who were your parents then?
My parents, Cecily and Fred McTaggart, and this is his siblings.
Your
Six of us.
And there were six children.
Yes.
Right. And tell us a little bit about your mom. Where was your mom from?
They were both from here.
They were both from
Yeah,
Cayman.
their families were here.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they grew up in what area?
My dad grew up on Mary Street.
Right in Georgetown.
Yeah, right in Georgetown. I forget the name of the office building, Mary Street, and how you intersect there.
Right.
But that's where he grew up.
So
But
kind of
my mother
probably
was raised.
where I'm thinking where like Walker's Law Firm, that general area.
Yeah,
right in there.
Yeah, you pass the office complex on the corner.
Right.
If you were going down to Walker's, and there's that corner building.
Yes.
I don't remember
okay.
the name.
Right
of
in
it.
there. I think I can't remember now, but I know which
Yeah.
one you mean. Yeah.
And my mother was raised in on the where the fish shack and them used to be, but on the opposite side of the road.
Right.
And
So that's North Church
North
Street.
Church Street.
Yes. Okay. So they didn't grow up too far apart.
No.
But
No.
back in those days, that was probably still considered a good distance. Yes.
But we walked it every day,
Yes.
going to school and everywhere we went, going to church. So it got to where it wasn't that big a walk.
Right. Did they ever share their story of how they met? Did they grow up as childhood friends and always knew each other, or?
They just grew up as childhood friends.
Okay, beautiful. All right, so your parents had 6 beautiful children. You're the eldest girl, and then you're the youngest girl.
I'm the baby.
The baby. Okay, and you two are the 2 remaining siblings. So everyone else. Yeah, everyone else has passed. Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So tell us a little bit about your siblings. You've got a photo there of the brothers. You had 3 brothers and 3 young girls in that photo.
Right.
Yes. So who was the eldest then of the entire group?
My brother, let's see, Eddingston, Frederick, Mac, Josie, Grace, and me.
And then that's you as the baby.
Can you see it at all?
Oh yes, we can see it. Beautiful.
So we grew up in a very happy home. My parents, or Daddy particularly, was very involved in Elmsley Church.
Right.
So our activities sort of revolved around the church stuff, you know. And well, back, I was born in 36.
Wow.
So back then it was really, you made your own fun. And so we didn't have electricity, we didn't have running water. You know, we had wood stoves. Part of our life we spent on the West Bay Road, close to where the Weston would be, I think.
Okay.
All of that was just, you know, that was just trees and shrubbery and all the way down. But Daddy had a little car with that, we called it a rumble seat.
Okay.
And so every few weeks we would have to drive down the road, chop the mahogany, not mahogany, the trees that were good for cooking with. It made good coals, I guess. So we had to do that, and then Daddy, we'd take it home, Daddy would chop it up. That's how we cooked for quite a long time.
Yes. Wow.
And then my brothers went to sea to start off with. That's how they earned their living. But one finally settled in New York, and he encouraged the other two to come and work there. So as they made a few dollars, they would send home things. And we finally got a kerosene refrigerator. We didn't have refrigerators back then.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was very primitive. And I often tell people, I said, you know, we were poor, but we didn't know it.
Yes.
We were happy, and we had enough to eat. It wasn't the fancy stuff you get today, but it's obviously very good for you because many of the old timers have lived into 100 years and over.
Absolutely.
So,
yes, a kerosene refrigerator. Never heard of that one before.
Yeah.
That's pretty interesting.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
So growing up in the 30s, and Miss Josephine, when were you born? What year were you born?
32.
32, okay. So life then was relatively simple.
Very simple.
Yes. You talked about having to make your own fun. So what sort of toys as children would you have had access to? You don't have to hold those up the whole time.
Okay.
I don't want your arms to get tired.
Yeah, well, actually, we had relatives that would send us, like at Christmas, gifts. And Mother would let us play with them for a certain length of time, a couple weeks, and when she thought we were tired of them, she would put them away and keep them for the next, you know, till we needed something to play with, and then she'd bring them out. And so I had toys actually up until not too long ago that she had saved, and they were in excellent shape.
Wow. Yes.
So Mother was very creative, and she made all of her clothes. And well, I mean, our relatives would send us gifts, but basically she made our clothes.
Right.
But like going to school, we walked to school. In the beginning, we went to Triple C, and then in '49, Cayman Islands High School was introduced through the Presbyterian Church.
Okay.
And so, because Daddy was very active in the church, Presbyterian Church, he took us out of Triple C and sent us to the Presbyterian school.
Right, and that was the Cayman Islands High School at the
Yeah,
time?
back then, that's what it was called.
I didn't go.
You didn't go. So tell us a little bit about why didn't you go there?
You went to Triple C. She went to Triple C because she was in her final couple years of school.
Okay.
Yeah,
and
but
we didn't think Daddy didn't think it was wise to take her out. So
I
she
see.
graduated from Triple C.
From Triple
Yes.
C. Okay.
I was the second one. Helen was first and I was second.
To graduate from Triple C.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, they were actually the second class
Yes,
to
it was an
graduate.
older
But
class,
she's
the
speaking
oldest
of the
class.
valedictorian and the salutatorian.
I
They were
see.
young.
Okay, so wow, that was quite some time ago. And how old would you have been then when you finished at Triple C? About probably 15, 16 maybe? Or were you a little bit younger?
I think she was a little bit older.
I was older.
A little bit older.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah.
Because she didn't go to school. You didn't go to Miss Yuna's school.
No, I don't remember that.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. So your brothers look like they're a little bit older than you. So how much older?
They were
a bit
They
older.
were. I hardly knew my brothers because
Right.
by the time I got to where I could remember them, they were gone. They had already left to go to
Right.
sea.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
Well, I'm 5 years younger than Josie.
Right. Okay. I understand.
My eldest brother was born in 1922.
Wow.
So
It's amazing.
and I'm-
So did your brothers ever come back from New York, or did they stay overseas?
they stayed overseas till there was transportation by airplane. Well, I guess in between they're getting a holiday on the boat, they would come home to see Mother and Dad. But they settled there.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
So as young ladies then, what were the expectations of you growing up? Did you have chores that you had to do in the household? What was that like?
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
They used to have to be
When we came home from
clean.
school, we had our chores. My mother gardened. She had a little garden of vegetables in the winter months, not the summer. So we'd have to pump the water from the well and take it down to where the plants were and water them.
Right.
And other chores, but that, I guess, what it was, we had to rake the yard and things like that.
And
Help
you
to
learned
keep the
how to
house.
cook all of the favorite recipes
I didn't
and
learn to cook any
I
cooking.
didn't learn to cook them very well because I married Frank,
okay.
and he was from America, and I fixed more of the American food for him.
Ah, okay. So he
But of
didn't
course-
mind.
No, he loved Cayman food. He absolutely loved
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it wasn't something we had real often. you know.
Yes. Okay, wonderful. So, when you were finished with school, then what did you do at that point? Did you, get married right away, or did you get a job? What were the opportunities available to young ladies at that time?
I was on a job. I did go to a job.
You worked for Marion's company.
Not met.
Yeah, Marion. Mr. Ori and all of them.
Yeah, but I can't remember who the person was now. Who the first one was.
Mr. Ducan, you
Oh,
worked.
Mr. Ducan, yes.
Yes.
Yes, he was my boss, so to speak.
And what sort of work was that then?
Well, a secretary.
Okay.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
The late Sybil McLaughlin taught us shorthand and typing.
Okay.
So I went to work too.
Yes. Now, when you said she taught you, was that in a formal school setting? Or,
at the Cayman High School.
At the Cayman High School for you. Okay. All right. And then you went into
She was
secretarial.
a wonderful lady.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
And then my one of my aunts took me to the States and let me stay for a year. And when I came back, I started to work at Seaview Hotel, which the Roulstones owned, along with my uncle, Dr. McTaggart. And then the Roulstone's son came home from the service. He was in the army and was going to stay 2 weeks, and I think he stayed a year to help them in the hotel. And over time, we got together and got married.
So that would have been your husband,
Yeah.
Mr. Frank.
Right, I got married at 21.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about where your husband then came from, right? So he's an American.
Yeah, he came from Florida.
From Florida.
Tampa, Florida.
Okay. Very interesting.
His parents came from kind of further up north.
Yes.
His dad from New Jersey.
Okay.
And his mother from Virginia. But they settled in Florida. And then when the opportunity came up for them to go into business with my uncle. Well, back then, I don't think we had electricity, but from about 6 o'clock in the evening till 10 at night or something. So it was very, very primitive.
Right.
You really had to do a lot to get things going. So, I lost my train of thought now.
Yeah, you're just sharing how your husband and his family came to Cayman.
That's how they ended up coming here.
Right. So they heard about this business opportunity to...
Yeah, well, they knew my uncle, Dr. McTaggart, because he was friendly with the Websters, as Shirley was telling you. My mother-in-law was a nurse, and she did special duty. And one of the doctors that she worked with said, Dorothy, I have a lady that I don't want anybody else to look after. You have to come and take care of her. This is in Florida. This is in Tampa.
In Tampa, okay.
And she said, but I've just come off of a trip taking a lady back to her home up north. And I'm tiresome. It's tiresome, and I don't think I can do it. And he said, you have to do it.
Okay.
So finally she gave in and met all the Webster family along with my uncle. And through that, my uncle was a merchant as well. So he had ships that went into Florida from here. And he asked my father-in-law if he'd like to go in. He needed somebody to run the hotel. He said, there's nobody on the island that can do it. And the lady that I have now she's a teacher. She's not a tourist person. And this was definitely for tourism.
Right.
So they came down, they saw the primitive island, but it was beautiful. And they said, well, I guess we could try. So they sold everything they had.
Oh, wow.
And moved here to Cayman. And that's the beginning of my association.
The Roulstone clan came from the Tampa area. Yes, very interesting. Yeah. It's amazing how we have so many connections all over the world.
Yeah, I know.
And how people came to and fro to Cayman, and just, fate, I guess, brought them here.
And all the seamen and everything that went away, that was a shock to them. To go leave this little spot. I know it was a shock for me. The first time I was 17 when I left here, first time.
Right.
I couldn't believe it. When the plane was landing and all these lights, I thought, Lord, what is this all about?
Yes. And where did you go for your first trip?
I had to go through Miami.
Okay.
My brother was visiting at the time, so he took me to Miami.
Okay.
And we overnighted with a friend. And then he put me on a plane to go to Texas.
Oh, wow.
And the funny thing is, I tried to be so, like I knew so much. I mean, I didn't want to act frightened.
Yes.
So I was putting on this good show of just being very
calm
and
yes.
everything. I had to change planes 3 times. And so that's where I ended up. Beaumont,
Yes.
Port Arthur, Beaumont area.
But you said it was such a change, the lights,
well, all, you know,
everything.
Miami, going into Miami especially, was a huge city then,
Yes.
and still is.
Yes.
And I didn't know, we didn't have I think if we had 2 electric lights outside, that was it.
Wow.
So all of it, all the food was different. Not different, but maybe done differently. You know, cooked differently.
Good. It was good.
You enjoyed the food when you traveled.
Yeah, and I ate and got big. I got fat.
Right.
Yeah.
And I guess growing up in those days, the early days, you didn't see a lot of cars.
No,
either.
Hardly.
Maybe
one
3 or
two.
4. Daddy's little piece of junk that he had, which was a good little car. It served its purpose for sure. It was a
Yes.
small car. I've got a picture of it in there.
Yes.
So, no bicycles.
I bought
few
my
people in
bicycle,
little
my
carriages,
first
you know,
bicycle.
horse-drawn carriage.
Horse-drawn carriages.
Like some people in South Sound, some bushes. They had a nice carriage and
oh wow.
horse. And Mr. Selman Eden
Beautiful.
from Savannah.
Okay, wonderful. You were saying that you remember when you bought your little bicycle?
Yeah, when I first started, I worked close to where Beth was talking about, not Uncle Roy, but across from him at the Marions. And I did all my stuff from there. I mean, most of my learning, I would do dictation and things like that. And then it wasn't too long while I was there that I met someone by the window looking up. That was my first husband. Well, he wasn't a husband yet, but
he was admiring
He
you through the window.
He became it quickly, yeah.
Yes.
then I met him, and it wasn't too long then when we got married.
Right.
He's from Cayman, Buddy Cole.
Okay. Yes.
Well, his name wasn't Buddy, but
That's what they called
That's what you
Buddy
called
Cole.
him, his nickname, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, beautiful.
So, and from then, I got married, yes, and then we moved. We went to another place, which was Venezuela.
Oh, wow.
So I was there 21 years.
Oh,
Then my
interesting.
husband died there,
Okay.
and I came back home here.
Right. Why did you move to Venezuela? What was in Venezuela?
Well,
your
that's where he
husband-
was working.
He was working there.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
And what sort of work did he do?
What was that? I can't remember.
Something to do with
Outside work anyway.
it's something to do with
I can't remember all those things anymore.
I don't know if it was with
Yeah, that's okay. So his job then took you to Venezuela,
Yeah.
and you stayed there for 21 years?
But yes.
Wow.
And then
So
he
you were
died,
fluent in
and
Spanish for sure.
No, I was
No?
learning, of course, but I didn't get
she's
as good as it should have been.
Okay.
I should have been, you know.
but what she spoke was perfect Spanish, even though it wasn't. I mean, it was. You knew a lot of Spanish. She could rattle it off, but no, she doesn't remember a lot
Yeah,
of it.
that's okay.
Me gusta mucho el español. El español es muy bueno.
It's muy buena,
Bonito.
yes. No problem.
Go
So,
ahead.
life in Venezuela, what do you remember about that time?
Oh, it was wonderful.
Yes.
After I got to like it.
Yes.
Because it was different. I had to know it. I went all over Venezuela.
Yes, and I'm sure
And
in
it was
those
beautiful.
It was beautiful.
It was beautiful then. I can't tell you how it is now.
Yes.
But it was beautiful then.
Absolutely. And in those 27 years, you had children?
I never had any children.
You never had any children? Okay.
And that's terrible. That is terrible in a way.
Yeah.
Because Buddy wanted children, and we don't understand these things.
Yes.
I don't understand them.
Yeah.
But we didn't have any.
You didn't have any children. Okay. So it was just the two of you then living in Venezuela. Did you work while you were in Venezuela?
I worked too. I worked there too.
Yes. Okay.
Then my husband that was there, he got sick and he died. So I got back. I left there and came back to Cayman.
Yes.
And then I met an American here.
Uh-huh.
And then we got married, and he took me to the States, in the States then. And that was 33 years. I was in the States 33 years.
Yes.
It was only 21 and a half in Venezuela.
Uh-huh.
But in the States then it was 33 years.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So.
And what part of the States did you live?
All about. But
okay.
I loved upstate New York. I do love it very much.
Yes.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
She lived in Ohio.
Yes,
Michigan.
I lived in Ohio.
Okay.
Barb and Roy were there.
Yes. And Michigan and New York.
Michigan also. Right.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. And your second husband, what sort of work did he do?
What did he do? I don't remember.
He worked with one of the companies. I don't know if it was Hunt's, the manufacturers of all that.
Food, I think it was the food.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Very good.
I'm forgetting things.
No, that's okay.
When you get old and decrepit, you forget.
That's okay, because you're now 90.
90? Going on 91.
Going on 91, yes. Yeah. Well, you're allowed to forget a few things along the way.
We forgot a lot.
That's okay, that's okay. Yeah. So, and did you continue working all those years? Like when you were in the States, you also worked yourself, or did you?
I didn't work, but I did. It wasn't work, but it was, what do you call it?
Volunteer?
Volunteer stuff. I did a lot of volunteer business there.
Yes. Okay, beautiful.
Right, but I didn't do normal work.
Okay. Well, that's good. Everybody needs good volunteers, that's for sure.
There were places that are beautiful over in that area.
Wonderful. And then you've moved.
Water.
Yeah, that's okay. And then you've moved back now to Cayman.
For how many years it was that? I can't remember.
Nearly 10.
She's been back nearly 10 years now. Wonderful. And the two of you live together?
Yeah, she lives with me.
Yeah. Wonderful.
I know she'd like to throw me out, but she don't know what to do with me.
I threaten her with the fines if she gets out of hand.
But how wonderful is that? You, the two remaining siblings, and you get to spend every day with each other now? I mean, that must be so nice.
But we don't have any problems. Excuse me.
Yes.
We really don't have any problems. Anything that would make us.
Yeah.
That we don't want to love each other anymore. Or anything,
of course.
And one thing about Josie, she had a beautiful voice. We all sang.
God is going to do.
And
no.
She's singing and whistling all day. So
she loves to sing.
Yeah, whistling and singing.
Wow. So she's a very happy person.
She can go from calypso to the most beautiful hymns that you ever heard.
Oh, really?
I sang a
lot.
lot.
Now she's forgetting the words a bit, but then she
but
fills it in with her little.
Because the singing is going bad.
Yeah.
So I whistle.
What's your favorite hymn to sing? What's your all-time favorite?
Don't tell me, there's so many.
Oh, there's so many.
I could never say what is my favorite because there's so many.
There's just too many.
I love so many of them.
Yes. Sing a little piece. Can you sing a little piece of one for us? What's a good one? Like you said, there are so many when you start thinking about it.
I don't remember.
When you want to sing, you just can't remember which song you want to sing. Amazing Grace?
Amazing Grace, no.
Or is that hard to sing?
Well, you think about something that you'd like to
What was Daddy's hymn he liked a lot? We were talking about it a couple of days ago.
These things, they just don't come to my mind that way anymore.
That's okay. So growing up in the church was really an important part.
That was a big part.
It was a big part because we went to Sunday school and church every Sunday. Wednesday, Mother used to take us to Women's Guild.
Yes.
Although we were little children, or at least I was a small child.
Big.
And then Friday there was a young people's program. And then you start all over again on Sunday. But the church had activities other than, just going to church.
Yes.
Christmas time, they'd always have a bazaar.
Right.
Yes.
And special things. Like this picture of the 6 of us, I don't know what the occasion was.
Yes.
But I know they had what was called fancy dresses. You go into a fancy dress thing, whatever the.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, you all look so pretty there in your little outfits and
I
everything.
don't know where Mother ever got all the stuff because some of that is fancy stuff.
Yeah. She put it all together and made you look so beautiful.
And then the ships came in occasionally, the warships. The British ships would come in just to make a courtesy call or R&R. That was activity, going to see the ship. Anyhow.
Right. Yes. Do you remember when Cayman started to get a little bit more modern? Like, do you remember when we started to get electricity or running water, when the first planes started to come in?
No.
Yeah, and it was a kind of slow beginning.
Yes.
But my father-in-law, they were big in tourism at that time.
Right.
There were only 2 other places: Pageant Beach Hotel, Seaview Hotel, and then there was a house in Georgetown that was called Shirley,
Bayview.
Bayview Hotel.
Bayview, no?
They called it Bayview Hotel.
Right. And that was it for tourism back in those days.
Really sound like drummers, no?
And that was in the area where South Church Street and Shedden Road intersect.
The intersection there. Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
So you've seen a lot of changes over the years.
Yeah, and we did a lot of swimming, walking in the afternoons after supper and all. We would take a walk, meet up with our friends, and just continue to walk. So
beautiful.
It was safe. Nobody bothered you.
That's the thing. It was safe.
And we had wonderful friends all in Georgetown area that you could walk to.
Wonderful.
And of course, when we went to school, we met new friends.
Absolutely wonderful.
But what my father-in-law used to do when I worked there, to help to attract people, I guess, because back then, postage and stamps were kind of important. People wanted to collect. So when he would package up the brochures to be sent off, he would put make up the amount that it's supposed to be in all different denominations of stamps. And people absolutely raved about it.
I didn't know about that.
Yeah. So they loved seeing the stamps of like Cayman stamps, and it made them curious about what the Cayman Islands was all about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was a stamp collector too.
Oh, were you?
I used to have a lot of stamps, get them from all over the world.
I know. We have tons of them here that just packed away.
Beautiful. And so you worked in the hotel with your in-laws as well?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Very nice. So tell us a little bit about what that was like.
It was interesting and it was nice because people came into lunch, would come into lunch. They had a nice dining room, and Miss Rosabelle Bird was a cook.
Rosabelle
and
Bird.
she could cook. Everybody loved her. So the people that worked in town, in the offices, many of them would come in for lunch.
Okay.
And, in the evening, sometimes, at one stage, they did like not square dancing, similar to that, I can't remember. An evening that people would, ask if they could come and do this dance, practice this dance. By then, there were people coming, I guess, a little bit from England and other areas, Jamaica, to teach in the schools, and the younger people. And there was Girls' Guildry back then, and not Girls' Brigade as it is today.
Okay.
They would teach us different things.
Yes.
And my in-laws would, some evenings for the guests, they would show a movie, a local movie that a man by the name of Bob Fuller put together. And that was to entertain the guests. There's nothing else to do. And there were a few bars, and the beach club opened up. What was the beach club?
Okay.
The hatches
Right.
built. There was something beginning to function, I guess, by the mid-60s. You could see more people coming to the island.
Right. Okay. Beautiful.
Of course, a lot of the tourists that came in the winter because of the temperature.
Right.
And then the summer was slow.
The summer was a bit slower. Yes. And so people would enjoy your singing so much that I understand they'd stop and visit with you and just sit on the porch and listen to.
Yeah, we had a swing on our front porch along with a bench and a couple of things. And anybody that walked by would either stand up
think it's up on the
listen to
floor
us,
there.
and my mother would tell him, "Oh, you can come up and sit on this porch."
Wonderful.
But yeah, we sang. We had to do something to entertain ourselves.
Oh, we had a good life, a good young life that it wasn't crowded with some of the things like they today.
Much simpler, but nice.
Yeah.
Yes, beautiful. So, Miss Beth, you have a few children of your own.
Yep, I have 3 children.
Okay.
Shirley over there, Sharon, and Frank. And then I have 3 grandchildren.
Okay.
Haley, Hunter, and Catherine.
Beautiful. And so what would be, as a mother, what would you say gave you so much joy raising your own children?
Oh, well, it was always a joy. We had our little squabbles, and they didn't like when they were disciplined or anything. But I guess I had with my parents and Frank's parents, there were a lot of things that they would do with them, particularly Frank's parents. My parents didn't. They were always teaching him about God and the Word of God. And Mimi and Fafa, who they called Frank's parents, did a lot of things. Take him out for a drive or do things with them. In the early days. And then it got to where we would go to Virginia for several weeks in the summer.
Right.
And it's always something to do.
Yes, yes. Beautiful. Very nice. Now your parents, we have a picture there of the 2 of them. They were married for a really long time.
Yeah, I think they were married in 1926, could it have been? Daddy was born in 1892, and my mother in 1894.
Wow.
So that's 6. She must have been about 20. Yeah. And all of her relatives, she had siblings, but I think there must have been about 6 of them. They all moved away to
Mostly
earn a
Texas,
living.
I think. Texas?
Yeah, in Alabama and around there, where the boats used to go in. So that's what Daddy did. And after they got married, she said, "No, you have to find something else to do instead of going away all the time." So he quit the ships and he was a handyman. He could do anything. But he was basically a carpenter.
Right.
And he helped to build like Seaview Hotel and other places.
He used to cut hair and everything.
Yeah, and one or two old ladies that lived when I was small.
Right.
He would go and cut their toenails.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, some of them would be curling, they would be so long.
Oh, my goodness.
And that was one of his Sunday jobs.
Yes.
Not every Sunday,
Yes.
but as necessary.
Oh, wow. That's very
Daddy
interesting.
he could do anything.
Yeah. And back in those days, I suppose you did whatever it took.
Yeah, right. You had to, whatever you could do and had the urge to do, you could do.
That's fascinating.
But I was saying my mother's siblings all left the island but her. I guess because she was in love at the time or whatever, but she never moved away. She lived here all her life.
Okay.
And because of the little boats that plied between here and Central America, they went like to Honduras, Belize, different areas.
Right.
But they didn't go too far afield back then.
So where do you guys think you get your singing talent from? I know there's a famous songwriter and singer in the family.
All of us used to sing.
Yeah, Aunt Leela was the
Dad and
songwriter. Mother and Daddy had beautiful voices
They
too.
both had beautiful voices.
And then the brothers.
Yeah, in the early days, during the war and everything, this one had a radio.
You bet.
And when she came home from school, that radio was turned on to what was it? The Hit Parade, I think it was called.
No, it was something else too.
And you dare not touch that radio. That was hers.
Yes.
You're the only one had a radio. I never got anything like that.
I was really.
But I think this is
lucky.
where we kind of learned to sing better.
Yes.
The pronunciations and all of that, the singing.
You'd listen to the radio.
So I think was listening to these songs and things over the radio that helped us to sing better.
We all the brothers sang very well too.
Yeah.
Eddington, what they call him, Eddington. He was the oldest brother. He's had a beautiful voice, and I think he wanted it to go on for something special, like.
Yeah, he wanted to get into the singing
singer out
age, singing stuff, and he wrote songs that were quite beautiful, but they're very romantic.
Of course, it would be.
And it's. But of course, all of that got washed away in Ivan. We know the words. Gracie particularly she remembered a lot of stuff.
Wow.
But and they weren't long songs.
Yes.
But they had a lot of meaning.
Right. So you had some of his recordings?
Yeah.
Oh.
His wife did.
Oh wow. And unfortunately, that was lost during Ivan.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
My sister-in-law, Eddington's wife, saved everything like that. But when they built a home up in Frank Sound, and the sea went right through it, clear across into the swamp.
That was a
But
bad time.
when they were getting ready, when they were cleaning up, there was a huge, big pile of sand, and digging it up, doing whatever they had to do. There was the Bible in the middle of this heap, which is amazing that it would have survived. and it was still in pretty good shape. Yeah.
Wow. So you got multiple songwriters. You're just mentioning Miss Leela.
Yeah, Aunt Leela.
Yeah, she was your aunt.
Oh, she wrote so many things. I don't know how she could think of the things she wrote about.
Yes. And so she wrote our national song. Yeah.
At every occasion, she wrote a song. Everything. The ships came in, she had a song about it. The airlines came in, she had a song
about it. That's how she expressed herself, was through writing music and
yeah. And she lived on the waterfront.
Yes.
I kind of think I can imagine her just sitting there looking out on the ocean and these words just flowing into her
being
mind.
inspired by that scenery. Yes. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yes, that's so wonderful.
Cayman is so built up now, you see. It used to be just a little island with one or two things in it that are a little different, but today it's all got so many buildings. So much.
So I'm told that you can sing New York and you can give us the full orchestra version. You think you might be up for
New York?
Oh, I don't know.
That's me. Shirley must have done that.
She's feeling a little bit shy today. How about Yesterday, All My Troubles?
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, give us a couple lines of that one. Why not?
Come on.
Not easy to sing, no.
Don't be shy. Take your time.
Yesterday, all my troubles seem so far away. Now it looks as though it's here.
They're here to stay.
They're here to stay.
For I believe in yesterday. Suddenly, I'm not half the girl I used to be. There's a shadow hanging over me. Yesterday came suddenly. Why he had to go, I don't know. He didn't say. I said something wrong. Now I long for yesterday. Yesterday, love was such an easy game to play. Now I need a place to hide away. I believe in yesterday. I believe in yesterday.
I love that song. I just love it.
Yes.
Yesterday.
Oh gosh. Sounds beautiful.
But if the voice was a little prettier than it is right now, I could sing it better even.
Yeah, no, that's okay. I can see that you have a lot of passion for music, and
I do.
Certain songs take you back maybe to a certain time in your life.
Yeah.
I was a happy person. A happy person. I've had times, I guess, that a little bit of sorrow now and again.
Yes.
But most of the time, I'm still a happy person.
Yes.
But of course, Charlie would say things wrong about it.
Well, you seem to have a really good sense of humor as well.
Well, of course.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
she's been a humorous person.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So we're gonna prompt you again to see if we can get you started with New York.
Keep singing in New da 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 in old New York. Oh, it's not good now. Da
If
da
I
da
can-
da 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 in old New York. If I can make it here, I can make it anywhere. It's up to you, New York, New York. Doggone it.
Hit the bum.
Ah, beautiful. You hit a high note there. Absolutely gorgeous.
It be good if I wasn't broken to pieces right now, my throat.
That's okay. Absolutely gorgeous. Wow. I can see why people wanted to stop and listen to.
Anything else?
Yeah.
Anything else?
I'm trying to think of a good, maybe a good hymn that you might elicit some memories for you.
My eyes are running.
But as
I'm
you
not
say,
crying, but my eyes are running.
Oh, okay.
Old folks do that.
Yeah, that's okay.
I'm old, you know.
Yes, well,
we know so
that's
many. We know so many old hymns, and now nothing is.
Yeah, it's
springing to mind.
how about How Great Thou Art? Is that one you might remember?
Oh, I thought it was something biting.
I'm not sure. When I looked down.
I forget, it was dark.
I know.
Which one?
How great thou art, O Lord my God, when I in awesome wonder consider all the worlds thy hands have made. I see the stars, I hear the rolling thunder, thy power throughout the universe displayed. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. We better leave it.
Beautiful,
I said we better leave it there because we forget half of it.
Oh my goodness, so beautiful.
Nice if I could. I was singing it the right.
Yeah, no, that's okay.
Well, everybody.
So I can definitely see why if somebody was walking by and they heard these lovely voices, they would be tempted to stop and say, "What's going on here? Let me enjoy this a little bit longer."
Yeah.
So wonderful. Wow. Absolutely gorgeous.
Well, all I can say, I had a wonderful life.
Yes.
A beautiful life. A little now and again, some sorrow or something, but the most of it is I had a good life. Mom and Daddy were good to us. They treated us good. They taught us well. And I think it stayed on us.
Yes, absolutely. Very beautiful. Yes. So, not just this week, we actually lost the Queen.
Yeah.
Yes, that was so sad.
That was very, very
I loved her.
Yes.
Dear Queen.
Yeah.
It's just like she just
Gone
sort
to
of
glory.
went away.
Yeah.
Active up until what, 2 days?
2 days before. Yeah, that was something. Did you have an opportunity to meet her during any of her visits?
No, I was in crowds but
I was there very close. But then I was dying to hug her up, but of course you couldn't do anything like that.
She is still the queen after all.
You're right.
Yes. So, when you get to a certain age in life, I guess you sort of reflect on your entire life, really. And I know your sister has said what a beautiful life that she has had. Miss Beth, what do you think about, do you reflect more on your children as, perhaps your greatest accomplishment? Like, what do you think about when you reflect on your own life?
I had a happy life. I had, like Joe, I've had a few little things that have kind of knocked the props from under me.
Yes.
But basically, I guess, I guess raising the children was really a big part of it.
Yes.
Getting them to this age, and now they think that they're the boss and I'm a child.
Yes.
Be careful where you step and don't do this and don't do that.
Right now.
They're looking out for you.
Yeah, they do care a lot of
Yes.
for my safety and everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've been blessed. I've been blessed in so many ways. So many ways. I mean, little things that most people wouldn't think about. And to me, it's a blessing.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And
So-
I loved being in the church. I worked in the church, not as an employee, but
Part of our life, wasn't
in
it?
the choir. I was an elder. I taught Sunday school. The bazaars, as a youngster, we would help out with.
Right.
And any activity that was put on.
Yes.
So life for me was really, I suppose, revolved so much on the Christian side of it.
Yes. Beautiful.
Definitely.
Right.
But I have 3 wonderful children. Yeah, I do. And they're mouthy sometimes. I thank God.
Okay.
I thank God for them every day.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And what do the two of you spend your days doing now? But what's a typical day like?
That thing in the corner.
Thank God we
The
don't
TV.
fight.
This
I
is a
said, thank God we
TV.
don't
This is a
fight.
TV queen.
Oh, okay.
That's going from 10 o'clock in the morning
No.
till 10 o'clock
Don't
at
lie
night.
about things you have to Papa.
Well, Jo doesn't. She's has a she doesn't walk very
Okay.
much. She has
Yes.
a walker,
Oh, well.
so she has to be very careful.
Yes.
So her activities are minimum, and I still get around. I can't drive right now. The children have the car. They
Yes.
needed it for various things that came up, and now Frank has to borrow it because his truck was in the garage.
Sure.
And it's taking 3 or 4 weeks to get the parts. And it's been at least 3 months that I haven't driven.
Okay.
So even now I'm thinking about it. Do I really feel up to it?
Yes.
They
right.
definitely don't want me driving.
Yes.
Not with the traffic and that sort of thing.
But you still do a little bit of gardening club. I've seen you at cooking class.
I like to go to the garden club, but I can't do a lot of the activities that they do, but it's a nice outing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
She does a little gardening around the place.
I do a little bit of
Yes.
gardening, but
Nothing big. I
Beautiful.
can't do any of that kind of anything like
Yeah.
that.
bending, for a lot, it's difficult.
Yeah. Of course. Yeah.
But I walk. Sometimes my helpers will take me for a walk down the street, up and down the street, and I was taking physio, which I think helped me, but I don't know what happened. I got sick. I think I must have had COVID, but all of my tests were negative. So after 5 or 6 days, I said, "Was this strange?" But I did have a little bit of sore throat and runny nose, and tired.
Yes.
Made me so tired. So
But you got
that cut down on some of my activities.
On some of your activities. Yeah. Well, that's
I
understandable.
get to the shop sometimes. They take me to shopping for the groceries and things
Yeah.
like that. I haven't been getting out to church, which I'm disappointed about. But living here and the children in Georgetown, it's up and down to pick me up and then take me back. It's a lot.
Yeah. So I've been told to ask you about some pumpkins. Do you grow pumpkins?
We didn't know we were growing pumpkins.
Oh.
Yeah, my gardener at the time just planted some seeds out. A little Filipino guy, wonderful.
Okay.
And he did my gardening. So down in the back, it's a swampy area, only if we have a lot of rain.
Right.
If the water will come up. But
Oh, beautiful.
he planted some seeds. And then he left the island because he was rollover.
Okay.
And my Sharon's helper came down one day, and she was wandering around in the backyard, and oh my goodness, look at this! And there were 7. 2 of them were massive. One weighed 47 pounds.
Oh my gosh.
And one weighed 30-something. And then they
Wow.
kind of tapered down to like 12 pounds.
So you had a proper pumpkin
And
patch.
they were the best.
Wow.
Best.
Amazing.
So I can't take credit actually for
Yes,
planning
yes,
them.
yes.
But we enjoyed them, gave some away. A couple of people came by and wanted to buy. But I think one of the last ones I did sell to a man at the garden club. He was desperate. I said, but I don't want to sell my pumpkin. It's going to soon be finished. Mom, I really want to buy that pumpkin. I'd give anything for it.
Wow. That's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. So they were big.
They were
very
huge.
big.
For me, I've never seen any that large.
That's
I'm sure there
wonderful.
there have been.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, ladies, thank you so much for spending a little bit of your day with us so we could get to know a little bit about Miss Josephine and Miss Beth and, you know, what you guys have been up to here.
I hope we haven't wasted your day.
No. We had a really lovely time visiting with you. You know, it's just, this project is all about trying to capture our individual stories, which make our collective history as a people. You know, and it's so interesting that it's like every person I speak to, there are these common themes from certain generations of, you know, people going to sea, growing up. Some of the same things that you've described, I've heard before about growing up poor, but didn't know you were poor. Growing up very simple lives, you know. So Caymanians share a lot. There's a common thread throughout all of our stories.
Right.
And it's just so amazing to hear it from different perspectives. So I thank you for taking the time to share your stories and a little bit about your family history with us as well.
You're welcome.
So good day, everyone. We're here for a Conversations With segment with none other than Mr. W. Norman Bodden, MBE, OBE. As many of you will be aware, he's written a book recently entitled Against All Odds. I haven't read it yet, to be honest, but I have heard that it's an amazing read, Mr. Norman. What made you decide to write a book now?
I had never ever planned in my lifetime to write a book. That, Sandra, that was the fuzziest thought that I had.
Yes.
But Virginia and the children and some of the grandchildren kept after me and saying, you know, you should write a book. You're retired now. You got nothing home to do but aggravate Virginia. So why don't you sit down and write a book?
Yeah.
So I started it, I think, in September last year.
Wow.
It took me about 4 months working off and on and doing the typing myself on my computer.
Amazing.
So I did the whole thing, and then I got in touch with a nice lady from CML Publishing, Mrs. Karen Chin, and she was a great assistance in publishing it and had it printed in Miami. And I thought they'd done a pretty good job because I was concerned that it wasn't long enough. But I have found that when you write a autobiography and you put too much detail in it, it becomes voluminous and people don't really read it until they get halfway through and they give up. So I thought that it was kind of short, but I think it covered my life the way that I wanted to read.
Yes. Well, this is amazing. So just in September, you started writing this. It didn't take you very long.
4 months.
Amazing.
Working on and off.
So the title of the book is Against All Odds. Did you come up with that title yourself? And if so, why did you choose that one?
I did because my mother was handicapped, right? And she showed me by example that you can survive through hard work and honesty against all odds.
Wow.
And that gave me the idea to use it as a title. Additionally, when somebody comes from my background, from an impoverished background, and they can run for public office and win 3 consecutive elections by topping the polls in all 3, and ended up being the Minister of Tourism and Aviation for 8 years.
Amazing.
That too was achieved against all odds. So those two reasons were why I chose the title, because I felt that a lot of times people with my background have to achieve things against all odds. They have to work hard and prove themselves, but with honesty and hard work you can do it.
So this is amazing already. Just in your initial comments, we hear of you starting out with some hardships in life. So let's go back. How old are you now, Mr. Norman?
I am 86 years old.
Oh, amazing.
I'll be 87 on October the 2nd.
Beautiful. So let's go back 84, 83, 80 years ago when you were just a little boy. What was it like? Tell us a little bit about your parents, who they were, and what was it like growing up in Cayman at that time?
Well, life was hard. The population was small, but I tell you, people were happy. They had, but it's really I'm talking about the 40s and 50s and 60s. You had no bills, no computers, no technology at the level you have it today. And life was difficult, but it was very ordinary life, but I think that people were very happy. They had not the bills facing them that you have today.
Right.
And mosquitoes, of course, was a problem.
Yes.
And those were brought under better control. And that helped to make life more comfortable. I'm from a single parent home.
Right.
My grandfather was the dad role model in my life.
Okay.
And he sent me to public school, where I was taught by Thomas F. Hill, a Jamaican school teacher. And it was a one-room classroom, and he taught every subject. But my grandfather saw that I walked to school and got an education at the level that you could get it in those days. And of course, after leaving public school at the age of 13, I went to CCC school, and a fine Christian lady, Miss Ina Marion, helped me to pay tuition, and I graduated from CCC school in 1953 with a 93 GPA.
Wow. So you mentioned that your mom, two interesting things you've mentioned about her is that she was a single mom and that she had a handicap. Tell us a little bit about her, because it seems like she was really, really important in your life.
She really was important, because I saw her, Sandra, do the neighbor's laundry in order to survive.
Right.
Life was hard, and but I tell you the truth, although we were from a very poor family, I had a lot of friends that were almost in the same boat as I. And you never ever realized or thought about being poor, because you were free to do the things they did and go to places they did, and you didn't feel out of order or out of place, because a lot of people were alike and shared the same problem.
Right. Amazing. What was the handicap that your mom had?
She was born with a hearing
impediment. Okay. Right.
And I think if she had been born in this day and age where medicine has progressed to the level that it is, that she would have been able to have an operation that she could hear.
Right. And how did that, her having that hearing impediment, how has that impacted you? I'm supposing that you're probably more sympathetic towards people who have any sort of a disability.
Very much so.
Yes.
Well, it happened that it became a way of life for me. I could communicate with her.
Yes.
And when she had to leave where she lived to go to do the neighborhood laundry to make a few shillings a day, I used to accompany her, because with her not being able to hear properly, I was afraid that a car might hit her, although there were not many cars in those days like what you have here, not even a semblance of it.
Yes.
But I used to accompany her, and when she was finished doing the neighborhood laundry, I used to go and get her and walk back home.
Beautiful. Very, very nice. Do you have any siblings?
No, I have no
only
brother.
child?
I was an only child.
Oh, wow. Right. So tell us a little bit then about your grandfather. And you mentioned that he was your father figure. And who was he, and what sort of impressions did he make on you as a young man?
His name was Levi Borden. And in his day, he went to sea. And he was able to buy almost an acre of land and build a lumber home within a zinc roof on North Church Street. Right. So he was very successful as a seaman. But as he got older, he had to stop going to sea, quit going to sea, and he became a fisherman by trade. And he used to fish and for a living. And I used to have to go down on Whitehall Bay where he came in, string the fish up, weigh it out, price it, and carry it in the back roads of Georgetown on the Marl Road in order to sell it. Wow. So that he had at least 6 shillings or 7 shillings that he could buy groceries from the store and make a meal with the fish he caught, plus whatever he sold. He used that to put into the farm, the cost of living.
Wow. So your family home is right here in South Sound then?
No, my family home is in North Church Street, in the area commonly known as Whitehall.
Ah, I see. Okay. All right, very good. So industrious from a very young age. You weren't afraid of hard work, that's for sure.
No, not at all. Because the first pair of shoes that I owned, I bought from money that I had earned at cleaning Dixon Graveyard. The government every December would give a certain budget to have the graveyard cleaned up for the holidays. And they used to hire boys of school age and other men as well to clean the bush out of Dixon Graveyard so it was nice and tidy for Christmas. And I used to work there, and I earned enough to buy a pair of shoes when I was probably 10 or 11 years old.
Wow, amazing. I keep hearing you use this term shillings, and to me it sounds so strange. Was that the currency that we actually used back in those days?
Pounds, shilling, and pence.
Wow.
Yeah, a shilling was about 10 cents now, I think.
Yeah, right.
And a threepence, that's 3 pence. But Caymanians call it a threepence.
Okay.
Yeah, Trapance. I spelled it in the book that I wrote.
Beautiful. So you started Triple C, then you said the kindness of, someone there allowed you to basically afford to pay the tuition.
What she did, she was Messina Marin from the Marin family, which was a very prominent family. And they were into shipping and merchandising. They had a grocery store, a shoe store, a dry goods store, and they had a warehouse. They used to sell to smaller shopkeepers. And she had no children, never married, had no children. She took an interest in me because my grandfather used to watch Marin's store. After he gave up fishing, he became a watchman for H.O. Marin and Company. And they used to stop by in the car at night to check on him, as I said in my book, probably to be nice, but also to make sure he was still awake. And and I got to know the family very well, and Messina Marin took an interest in me. And when, in fact, in public school, what caused me to consider going to Triple C or wanting to go to Triple C was the Presbyterian Church opened their prep school at the same time, and all the children except myself transferred to the prep school that the Presbyterian Church started. So when I went back to school in August or September, I was the only one left in my class.
Wow.
So I decided I would like to go. I had gone to Standard 6 in the public school system, and I wanted to go Triple C but couldn't afford it, so I let Messina know, and she wrote to Anderson, Indiana, where the Church of God had a church that they associated with, and they sponsored me for the first year. And when I went to Triple C, they put me in 7th grade, and then I was able to skip 8th grade and go into 9th grade. So I went to high school and completed it in 3 years.
Wow.
And she, after the church sponsorship was used. She herself used to finance me and pay my tuition from her own resources.
Wow.
But when I left C school and got a job, I was one of the fortunate ones that didn't have to go to sea. I got a job with LAXA in 1955 with LAXA Airlines. And when I got a job, I started the American Scholarship Fund. And with the help of some friends, we raised quite a bit of money. And that fund was used to help unfortunate high schoolers who had a problem paying their tuition.
Right.
The funds would be taken from that fund to pay the tuition, and many students benefited from it.
Yes.
And it was understanding or the plan that when they graduated and got a job, they would replenish the fund to help other children that needed financial assistance in completing their education.
Wow.
And I think it was still going up to today.
Wow, that's amazing that at such a young age, immediately you wanted to find a way to return the kindness that you had experienced.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Because there were children that their father had a stroke or they were incapacitated in some way and they couldn't afford to continue their education. And that fund came in very handy to help the unfortunate ones that couldn't afford to continue their education.
Right. Now, you said that you were one of the fortunate ones to not have to go to sea. And I've never really quite thought about it as, you know, being fortunate to be able to stay and remain here. So when you make that statement, why do you think it was a good fortune to be able to remain in Cayman?
Well, I was able to remain at home with my family.
Yes.
And I didn't have to face the hazards of the seaman. In fact, I think I was the kind of individual that had I gone to sea, I probably would have only gone a year or two when I wanted to be back home with my family. So I think I was fortunate because in being in the airline business, I did a lot of paperwork and documents and tickets for people that were shipping out with national bulk carriers. And I would see their family crying at the airport when they had to leave to go to sea. Yes. So I thought it was a good thing that I was able to get a job and stay at home. And that, Sandra, was a career of 25 years with the airline business.
Amazing. So you were, I guess, was it reservations manager? What was your position there with the airline?
I started as a ticket agent.
Okay.
Of writing tickets and checking in passengers. And LAXA Airlines at the time, they had an Englishman, Peter Hales Coleman, who was their manager. He had an agency, but LAXA and him had a disagreement. So they sent one of their Costa Rican representatives to be the station manager here. And after spending a year here, they promoted me to station manager.
Wow.
Yeah, and I got that job with LAXA through Aileen Marion. Aileen Marion was going to Emory University to study to be a dentist. And manager for LAXA Airlines after they recalled the representative that they had sent here. And as you know, LAXA was instrumental along with government in starting Cayman Airways. And I worked with the airlines and I was the managing director of Cayman Airways for 12 years.
So you were the first managing director at Cayman Airways?
From 1980 till 92.
Amazing.
And 92 was when I went into politics.
Okay.
But you know, there was always a question, Sandra, of why government became involved in the airline business. Yes. They became involved in the airline business to support their growing tourism industry. Because government nor Cayman couldn't afford to be dependent on service from foreign carriers. Because the day that that's unprofitable, they will leave and put their airplanes to work on more profitable routes. So what Cayman Airways does is provide a guarantee that government will not have to be dependent on foreign carriers entirely. We're dependent on them and they provide a service, but for example, during hurricanes, the airline that evacuates people out of Grand Cayman to safety in Miami is Cayman Airways.
Yes.
And they fly until the very last minute before the hurricane strikes. So that is a service that provides.
Absolutely.
And I must say that the place where Cayman Airways is today, I missed this out in my book, and I should have expanded on that, and I want to take this opportunity to do so. Cayman Airways today has a fleet of 737-800s, the MAX aircraft, 4 of them, and that is supported by the SAB and the Twin Otter for the inter-island service. And what is forgotten sometime is that Cayman Airways provides an inter-island service at a loss. So government has to subsidize it and face the reality of owning an airline is an expensive business. But today Cayman Airways is flying high, and the plan to replace their 737-300s was devised by the former chairman of the board of Cayman Airways, Philip Rankin. And I served 3 years as the deputy chairman along with Philip Rankin, and I was very impressed at the management and the way that Philip operated. He operated as if he was on Cayman Airways payroll, and he didn't get a penny for it, but he provided, and Paul Tibbetts and Fabian Worms, I think, do an excellent job of operating the airline. Their safety measure and the programs they have in place are the same as any large carrier.
Yes.
And I think we have a good record there, and we want to protect that.
Yes. Wow. So you started out with a foreign airline that developed into helping Cayman Airways get started formally, and then you were the managing director there for quite a number of years. What an amazing professional career, but you didn't stop